All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mayor Search for Uhuru. Thank you for joining us. As you guys come to the chat room, please hit the like button. Also, if you're new, please subscribe and also hit the subscription and hit the subscription bell as well, so you will be able to keep up with all of the updates and receive all of the updates. Today's topic is financing strategies and available markets for inter-African trade and development. I have the sister Rainetta Jones on with us today, and we're going to have a very dynamic show. Miss Jones, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Dinus. Hi,
Hello.
everyone in the chat room. First, I would like to give some power to Dinus, if you don't mind. I hope you don't mind.
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, Dinus, I want to tell you that I'm very proud of you. I remember watching your channel back in the days when you were with the Dogon people.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I laughed because I was like, how many people actually know how great the Dogon people are?
Uh-huh.
In terms of science and technology, the advancement of physics, um, astrotheology, astrology, astronomy, the bedrock of which came out of the Dogon people.
Right.
Okay. So when I saw you with them, I was like, okay, wow, okay. But anyway, so I just
That's
like to
old
tell,
school. That's true. That's
huh?
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I just wanted to tell you that I really, really, really respect your growth. I'm very proud of you. I would like you to grow even more, and you
Thank you.
will. I would also like to tell, because I'm somewhat of a psychic, even though I'm
Okay.
not,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. You there?
but
You
there's
had
a very good. I Can you hear me?
yeah, you were going in and out a little bit. I
Oh,
lost you after the psychic part.
oh, okay. That's because everyone has decided to give me a call anyway. So yeah, so I there's a wonderful feminine Dahomean presence
Mm.
that's around you.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Warrior. Mm.
yes, and that's good. Also, I
Like a
would like
like an actual individual, or are we just talking
no, it's a
energy here?
force. It's a force of women.
Okay.
Yeah. So very, very strong force of Dahomean women or
Mm.
Amazonians, which
Mm.
is very good, very good. Also, I would like to, I call people who look like us the global Black family. So if anyone hears me say GBF, that's what I mean, the global Black family. I would also like to say to Black men worldwide, we love you. And I would also like to say to Black women, we love you. And I think we need to focus less on our issues and more on what we have in common. So I wanted to
I
say
agree.
that before we started, because we tend to fight over the minor things, right? And we overlook the major things that we're doing, right? Um, so before I start, I just want to give everyone a brief synopsis of where I am today and who I am. Most people
Mm.
probably don't know who I am.
Take your time.
My Thanks. My name is Rainetta Jones. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. I was actually born on the hill where the steel pan was invented. That's Laventille. Okay. Do you know what the steel pan is, Dinah?
I don't know.
Okay, whenever you hear of the Caribbean or you see the Caribbean, you see them beating this steel drum and it goes ding, 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 ding. Okay,
Uh,
well,
yeah, yeah. I guess I'd be hanging around fake Caribbeans. I never heard of it. I'm sorry.
oh, Dinah, you need to hang around real Caribbean people. Okay,
Okay, yeah. I never heard of it.
nah, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so the hill where that instrument was invented by a Black man,
Mm.
Winston Spree Simon. I was actually born on that hill in
Mm.
Laventille, but I grew up in the United States, right? I graduated. I think I need to introduce your audience to who I am. I graduated with a bachelor's in business management and economics. At present, I work part-time and I also
From
run.
where? From where? Where'd you go to school at? I know I'm being
Um,
nosy, but
no, that's okay. Empire State College. Empire State College.
okay.
All right.
I guess it's in New York.
Yeah, it's in New York.
Okay.
Okay. So also I do invent, and at present, I'm working part time and I'm also working on my micro business. And that's something that I would like to talk about today. My
Mhm.
particular micro business is balneal therapy. Okay. So I'll give you a brief synopsis of what it is. And Dinus, you might know what it is, and you may or may not know what it is, but many people in the chat room would know what this is.
Okay, go ahead.
So before the Africans invented soap as we know it, soap with suds, okay? They bathed in herbs,
Okay.
okay?
Yes.
Right.
Hmm.
And the herb can be used for multiple reasons, okay? So Fafumilayo would know about this, right? The herbs were used for multiple reasons. For example, when a child was born, they would bathe the child in herbs. After the woman, gives birth, she would bathe in herbs. This is before saponification. Okay, that's the sud.
Hmm.
Okay, that this is soap without suds. So they would bathe in herbs, and they would bathe in herbs for many reasons. For example, let's say a person has issues with spiritual issues, they would bathe the person in an herbal concoction. Let's say the person needs guidance, or they need something broken, or they need some sort of correction in their body. They would bathe them in herbs,
Hmm.
right? On the more uh, sexual side,
Hmm.
let's say you have an issue with
Yeah, make you
fertility,
strong, make you very strong,
huh?
very strong, make you
Say that.
very strong.
Yeah, yeah. let's say, let's
Hmm.
say you have an issue with infertility,
Hmm.
or let's say a man, wants, I don't know, longevity or endurance, they would bathe in herbs, right? So the history of bathing in herbs stems from, as far as I can tell, it stems from the oldest people on the planet, and we know who they are. That's Black people.
All right.
So I wanted to revive that culture because we practically lost it. Okay, so I basically formulated an herbal formula, which I sell and to rave reviews. So this is what I do as a micro business. So today's topic is about economic opportunities, trade, and investment. So I wanted to give you guys a part of what I do as it pertains to the African continent. What I came up with, my specific area of focus is rural Africa.
Yeah, that's where it's at. That's where you
Yeah, yeah.
that's where you can have the biggest impact. Me personally, unless you just a millionaire times 100.
Right. Yeah. That's really interesting because
Well,
I think what,
I'm just saying that because people they come to me say, "Hey, Dynas, I want to move to Africa. I want to do this. I don't have a lot of money." I'm telling you, you can make more of an impact in the rural areas, in the village areas, than you will if you just go to Accra or Lagos or one of these major cities.
and that I think you are 100% right. And I hope that people would what's the word I'm looking for? Deconstruct from the negative imagery of looking at the rural areas as like underdeveloped, or it's a dump, or you lack infrastructure. Let me tell you something. When it comes to mature markets, which is the West, the United States, these markets can only grow at a percentage of a fraction of a percent or a percent or two. Okay. So we're looking at a growth in terms of like 3 to 4%. If you're looking at a mature market, growth annually is like 1% because the market is mature. That's the
Right.
United States, that's your Canada, Europe. Okay. The biggest traction where you tend to find large percentages in growth is what you call the emerging market. Okay. So your Asian market and your Middle Eastern market is called emerging markets, right? So they
Right.
tend to grow, let's say 2, 3%. So you're looking at growth from like 5% to 7%. Okay. So these are areas where people, if you're coming in, the difference is you're coming in with capital now, entering into these markets, right? So these markets tend to grow, 2%, 3% annually, which is pretty good. But you got to come in there with capital in order to get back the kinds of returns that you would expect.
Right.
Then you have things like your developing market. And this is the beauty, I think, from what I can see on this side, I haven't been yet, of where you get the continent of Africa. And guys, I want to tell you something. When I look at, there are 54 countries, some say 55, right? On the African continent, when you look at some of their growth, okay, this is your GDP now. When you look at some of their growth, you're looking between 7% for some countries to 14% growth.
Right.
That is unheard of. So when you look, I want you to see this vision here. So when you're looking at double-digit growth, you tend to find that these types of markets, because they were so underdeveloped, there's more that you can do, as opposed to trying to enter saturated markets or mature markets like in the West.
Mm-hmm.
No one says it's going to be easy. No one says it's going to be easy. But what I'm saying to you is, let's look at it this way. Hollywood, I'm just
Right.
using this as an example, right?
Right.
Hollywood, or let's use hip hop. Okay, so you have hip hop. Hip hop is a saturated, mature market with very lean growth rate. Okay, hip hop grosses about $20 billion annually, of which the creators of hip hop, that is Black American people, only get 12 cents on the dollar.
Wow. With that being said, Rainetta, and again,
Yeah.
not to deviate, and I'm trying my hardest not to switch subjects. What you
No,
just said, when we get into this, is hip hop Black culture, Black American culture, and you just gave these statistics.
Mm.
I'm not trying to change the subject.
No.
I was just hearing those numbers, and I'm like, but we brag about how it's our culture, but we get 12 cents on a dollar. You said
12 cents on the dollar. Yeah.
which
You
is
can go
which
look
is
it up.
which is right. I mean, I was thinking maybe less than that, but that sounds about right.
That's right. Yeah. You can go look it up. It's 12
Yeah.
cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
Usually, what tends to happen, right? When a person invents something, actually, the people who are not the inventors usually are the ones who's supposed to get that 12 cents on the dollar, whereas the people who invented it should be taking the bulk of the share.
Right.
Right? But historically, for Black people and Black inventions, which is worldwide, I need you to understand Black inventions are not limited to the United States. Okay. When we're looking at Black inventions and we're looking at Blacks moving culture, historically, they receive pennies on the dollar.
Okay.
Okay. Let's look at rock and roll. They got less than 12 cents on the dollar for rock and roll. And today they get 0 on the dollar for rock and roll. Let's look at the traffic light. Okay, now the traffic light today is considered a utility, but the traffic light was created by a Black man. The family gets 0. Let's look at the freezer for ice cream. So the mobile freezer, which is a Black American invention, the family gets 0. Let's look at the electrical train, the motor, which revolutionized American industry, okay? The American industrialization, I'm sorry.
Right. Right.
Okay? The family gets 0. Okay? I can go into like tens of thousands of Black American inventions, of which the families or Black people literally get.
I got another one for you. My good friend, his father
Mm.
invented the video game cartridge. Like, you ever play Nintendo or Sega Genesis?
Yeah.
He a Black man. He invented it. Ask me how much he gets from it.
Let me guess. 0.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they named a school after him in L.A.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
So
unfortunate.
I mean, this is just the way it is. So what does that tell us? What does that tell us? It tells us two things. One that's positive, the other that's negative. The positive thing is we know that people who look like us, I call us GBF, we have the capacity to innovate, we have the capacity to create, we have the capacity to create culture, move culture, and we have the capacity to take countries from one stage of development to another. Let's look at technology. And Black, this is the global Black family who contributed to propelling America into the tech age. Okay. We
Mhm.
have Emegwali. If it wasn't for Emegwali, who was Nigerian,
The
if it
internet,
was
the internet, right? The
it was the fastest computer. It's out. There's a deliberation as to if he created the internet or not. What we do know is originally he was the architect behind the internet, but what he was awarded for was the fastest computer on the planet,
Mhm.
right? So we just have to go with what they awarded him, right? So if it wasn't for him creating the fastest computer on the planet, we would not have propelled the United States into the tech era. Okay. Then we look at another tech invention, and I don't know what Emegwali gets on this. And I don't think because the internet now and and computers now are a utility. Okay, I don't think he gets royalties on this,
Mm.
right? So we
Right.
see the positive side where we know people who look like us. I call us GBF. We know people who look like us in every stage of economic development. We help to propel that country. However, when it comes to the crucial area which elevates a people group, financing, for some reason, we never get the money. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Right? So that tells us that we're doing everything right except asset ownership.
Now, the inventor of the Super Soaker, I know he's getting royalties.
He finally won his case in 2016, and they awarded him for, is it 200 million?
Something crazy, yeah.
Yeah, 200. I
He's
think it was
straight for life.
200
He's
million.
straight. He's straight for life. He's straight.
Yeah, there were either 200 million or 700 million. I can't remember, but he had to fight them I
Right.
mean, he had to fight them for like 20 years because that's how they operate,
Mhm.
right? And what they do is they try to, and I need Black people to understand the financial wars when we create anything,
They, they
okay?
expect, they expect that you don't have the finances to put up a fight.
Bingo, bingo. But another crucial factor too is what they do is when they push any Black invention or any invention, but particularly when it comes to us, when it becomes utilitarian, meaning mass amounts of people using it, when it moves into that stream, okay, and it becomes a utility, it's much harder for the inventor to actually get royalties if they didn't get it originally. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay, like for an example, the traffic light. The traffic light is utilitarian, meaning no form of transportation would exist without a traffic light. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, because the original inventor of the traffic light, a Black man, didn't get royalties in the beginning, he's not going to get it now because now it's utilitarian. Everybody uses it. How are you going to get royalties? You see what I'm saying? It becomes a need, right? So, before I even go into some of the different objectives, we need to understand it. We need to understand that whatever we create, we have to protect, and we
Right.
have to be finance first, money first, right? Money first, because once it transitions into a utility where everyone needs it, it's going to be very, very difficult to get
Real,
any royalties on it.
Real quick, somebody, Serious S says, I'm waiting for White Zaddy to hijack M-Pesa. So I think it was already hijacked. So a young black guy came up with the idea of M-Pesa, went to one of these cell phone companies, carriers in Kenya, which was non-black owned, pitched the idea. They took it, and I think they just pay him like, I don't know if he's getting royalties, but I don't. I think they just hired him like as an employee, like pretty much like a thank you very much, and they took it and ran with it.
Yeah, M-Pesa was stolen from a black man. I
Yeah,
don't know, a black Kenyan. I don't
a
know if
black
he get
yeah. They
royalties.
my buddy was telling about it. He had the idea as far as changing money via cell phone. He went to a cellular company without any protection, and they pretty much like, yeah, it's a hard idea. They took it, and that's
Yep.
it.
There's two others I'd like you to know about too.
Mm-hmm.
One is a black Nigerian woman who revolutionized braiding. Okay. She's about, I think this year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This woman saw that a certain plant in Africa could be used, the fibers, sorry, I don't want to yell, I'm outside. The fibers of the plant could be used for braiding. So this young black girl took the fibers, wove the fibers, and the textile of the fibers produced synthetic hair
Oh
that
wow.
was 10,000 times better than all the human hair and all the synthetic hair coming out of Asia.
What happened?
Right?
What
She
happened?
was invited to go to a competition. And when I heard this story, I said, oh boy, here we go again. She was invited to go, her church invited her to go to a competition. She won the prize, okay, some ridiculous prize, and that's it. And I'm just like, okay, does she realize that they just invited her to a competition to steal those fibers? And in the competition, she had to show them from the beginning phase of the fibers to the end phase how to create this synthetic hair that is 10,000 times better than all the human hair on the market and all the synthetic hair. She showed them the process. Oh my God. So it's like, again, so what I think is going to happen is, what do you think is going to happen to this?
Somebody, what Koreans are gonna jump all over it and take it.
Bingo. And take it. Okay, there was another one in Nigeria again. These were young schoolgirls, I think the ages of 12 and 13. This was about what year are we in? I think 8 years ago. Okay, they revolutionized using urine for many years. Engineers have been trying to figure out how to convert urine into electricity. These 12 or 13-year-old Nigerian girls, okay, this is why I need the GBF to understand. Black inventions are not limited to the United States,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Okay, so, but we respect Black American contributions to the advancement of civilization, okay? So these Nigerian girls, I think they were either between the ages of 12 and I want to say 15, if my memory serves me right, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for many years, the engineers have been trying to figure out how to convert urine into electricity. And these young Nigerian girls did it. They took urine and converted it to electricity. They made headways across the whole planet. When I read the comment, everyone who was not Black made fun of them and called it a Nigerian 419 scam. But this is what happened. A Chinese went in, conducted the experiment that they did, produced electricity, because I followed the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
A white European American, went in, used the same formula, the same technique, they used, and realized they could generate electricity. Dinah, what do you think happened?
I don't even want to. I don't. I know what happened, but I don't want to. Yeah, they stole.
And
Someone stole it.
They stole it and they started creating urine electricity kits. Okay, it's called waste to energy, meaning where you harness the power of solid and liquid waste, human waste or animal waste, and convert it to electricity. 4 Nigerian schoolgirls did this. What can we learn from this? What do you think we can learn from this?
I mean,
I
Rainetta,
know.
you got it.
I know.
It hurts. Like I'm hurt.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Because it's just like here in America.
Yep.
We have James Brown. They bring out Elvis. We got hip hop. They bring out Vanilla Ice. It's just like goodness.
This is worldwide. And you know what hurts the deepest? I'm going to tell you something because I follow.
One second. Shout out to Chima for the super chat. Thank you so much. And shout out to Fitzgerald Stevens as well. Shout out to Fitzgerald. All right, go ahead.
What hurts the most is this. What hurts the most is. So I followed the case with the 4 Nigerian girls, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What hurt me was that the Nigerian government didn't say, hey, this is ours. Come, we'll pay for your patent and we'll patent it and the Nigerian government will protect it. Okay, that hurt first. What hurt me on the second level is when the young girl went worldwide with this breakthrough invention for energy, because for years they were trying to convert urine to electricity and the scientists with their labs couldn't do it. When the young girls became, worldwide, they found out about this, they were laughed, mocked at, called the Nigerian scam. When the Chinese copied it, do you want to know what the comments said?
Oh, the geniuses. Chinese are geniuses. Just, oh man, Chinese are ahead of innovation. Very innovative.
And do you know what the comments said when the white American began producing waste to energy kits using urine?
Same thing.
Same thing. So what does that tell us? It tells us a lot, right? It tells us on the good side that many of the technologies that we see today, GBF, know for a fact it's someone who looked like us that created it. But our historical problem always remains the same. Why is it we never get the credit? And why is it we never receive the money from whatever we create?
Let me ask you this, Renee. Do you think part of the problem is, so for example, with the hair braider, they took her to I guess a contest, a hair braiding contest or whatnot. Then you have the girls with the urine. How did the Chinese and the Europeans find out about, or the white man find out about the girls with the converting urine into electricity?
BBC.
BBC. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think the issue is whenever we come up with something, it's like we just got to have white validation to really make us, I guess, without white validation, we don't think it's credible. Like we need the white seal of approval and now Chinese seal of approval to so we can have this idea that it's credible. If we don't have their seal of approval, it's not credible. Do you think that's the problem?
Great question. Great question. I'll say this. A lot of us are in mental slavery still, right? Mm-hmm. So let me give you an example. For many years, actually, for the history of the West, the Black man has been the image of the boogeyman.
Right.
Okay. So there's nothing good that can ever come from the Black boogeyman. Okay. So after a period of time, being inundated, if you're Black and you're a male, being inundated with a global campaign that says that nothing good can ever come out of you, you'll develop Stockholm syndrome.
Right.
right? For the black woman, let me give you an example. For the black woman, for hundreds of years since the West, this is before the Greeks entered, uh, stole the Egyptian throne. I'll give you a little bit of history, give you a little bit of history and antiquity. Diners, do you know there are historical records worldwide prior to the shift in the standard of beauty, which occurred when the Greeks stole the Egyptian throne? The standard of beauty across the planet was jet black.
Wow.
Okay? Any one of you can read Herodotus. God, I forgot the book. Herodotus, the book on history. You guys can message me and I'll look it up and I'll send it to you. I actually made a video on this on YouTube, flagged the video and said it was offensive, but whatever. So I'm going to be careful with my words. Historical records prior to the rise of ancient Greek classified the standard of beauty to that of the Nubian and the Ethiopian. Herodotus said the most beautiful people on the planet were black men. Now, we know that the Greek, I can't say too much because,
Yeah. We know they,
right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you could go read it. You can go read it.
I
You can go
understand.
read it. Right. So
How they got down.
yeah.
The
So I gotta
Romans
be
and the
careful.
Greeks. Yeah. Romans and the
Right.
Greeks. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So right, exactly. Right. The audience. So the standard of beauty prior to the rise of the Greek taking over the Egyptian throne across the planet was the standard of beauty was the black man. They wrote about it. The standard of beauty in terms of figure, okay, meaning feminine physique, was the black woman. Okay? At the rise of the Greeks, the standard of beauty started changing. Okay? And simultaneously, when you look to India under the Dravidian, okay, the bedrock of Indian civilization was Dravidian, where they got out of Ethiopia. This is why India was called Eastern Ethiopia, okay, or East Africa, okay, because of that Dravidian. The standard of beauty was jet black, okay? Now, the point, bring that back to 2019. So you guys are going to see how long black people have been under this type of domination that says your physical beauty is not to be aspired to. But what I find ironic, and I'm going to answer your question, what I find ironic is this. Today, if any of you have been paying attention, how is it for the black woman? The black woman standard of beauty has been classified as ugly. Your button nose, your hair that grows up, your full lip, your curves, your small waist, your full thighs, your butt, your firm breast. This has been classified as not beautiful. But all of a sudden, we see non-black women running around in black women's bodies and becoming billionaires.
Right.
But the black woman who has been running around with this body has been called ugly.
Lip injections, butt implants. Yeah.
The whole 9 yards, right? So to
Yards.
answer your question,
There you go. The Kardashians. There you go.
there you go. So now you understand why the validation is like a Stockholm syndrome, right? It's thousands of years of, I call it the image wars. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. Everyone, let's hit that like button. We have 186 people watching, only 67 likes, and people who super chatted. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. But hit that like button as you come to the chat room. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so back to Black people moving culture, shaping culture wherever they go, and also shaping, taking countries from one era, the industrial era, and we're moving into what? The tech era, right? The technotronic era. Okay. So we know that Black people have been pivotal worldwide in catapulting, you know, the shift from one era to the next. But where do we fall short? We always fall short in the area of finance. We always fall short in the area of getting the money owed to us like anybody else for inventing and creating anything. And we always get our images hijacked. And then what they project to the world about us is straight blackface. That's what we get. Blackface, right? So back to ways in which we can work on stuff like this. Now, I've been looking at this and I said to myself, I said, okay, what do we know that Black people are good at today? And I know, Dinah, I know, but just hear me out for 1 second, okay?
We've
Just hear
been
me out.
we've been reduced to, as Claude Anderson says, running the ball, ducking the ball, or acting the ball.
There you go. And also, entertainment. And
Well,
we got to,
acting the ball. That falls under acting the ball.
okay, acting after the ball. Is that it?
Acting a ball, like
Okay,
a full acting
acting the
ball.
ball.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
something like that. Yeah, okay, something like that.
All right,
Something like that. Yeah.
all right. So I want you to hear me out, Dinah, for a minute, okay?
I'm here. I'm
Hear me
right
out.
here. All
Okay,
ears. Go ahead.
hear
Go
me
ahead.
out. So how can we shift, have a paradigm shift? And I say this, we have to use what we're good at, enter it, whether on a micro level or on a macro level. Okay, macro level requires greater amounts of capital. That's why I say a micro level first. We have to use what they've given us and what we're good at. And once we get in and we begin to scale up, we begin to divest into different areas. Let me explain.
Okay, go ahead. Before I jump in, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead and
Okay.
explain.
So
I'm
we know, so, okay, no problem. So we know in the United States, in terms of entertainment and imagery, okay, it's Hollywood. Second, Disney, entertainment and industry. People who look like us will only be invited there according to their rules. However, we have an African continent that produces more films than all of Hollywood. We also have a large population in Latin America. Brazil has 91 million. Yes, there's a language barrier. We also have millions in the Caribbean. One of the things that unifies us all is our love of having fun. Now, I say, and I've spoken to you about this before, right?
right.
I think, and the decision is yours. I think this is one area now.
Mm-hmm.
Nollywood grosses billions of dollars annually. But Nollywood is one country of 54 countries. I'm telling you, look at this in terms of the African free trade. Okay?
Yes.
All of the continent speaks some level of English. If not English, Spanish. If not Spanish, Portuguese, and some Dutch,
And
right?
French. And French.
And French. Thank you. I'm sorry. I meant to say English, French, Portuguese, because French is second. Thank you for that. Okay? So here's what I'm thinking. One area that Africans or Blacks or the GBF in the diaspora can use to penetrate the African market. You got 54 countries, of which the hub is Nollywood. Where does
Right.
that leave the other 53? Right? And many Blacks, especially in America, are gifted in movie and music production.
Yes.
And to create a film in Africa, a good film, you don't need more than $3,000.
True.
And you literally have access to 1.3 billion people who
Yes.
look like you.
Right.
Okay. So for you, Dinah,
Hmm.
I mean, I was thinking, I'm just thinking, you don't
Yeah.
have to accept it, right?
No, no, no.
I think because you have a great American connection
Yes.
and you have a great African connection, Dinah, I really think you should consider African American movies. No one's doing it.
But in Africa.
Of
Shoot them in
course.
Africa. Yeah, of
No,
course.
of
Yeah, we
course.
talked about that. I said yes.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
already working on it.
Okay, Dinah.
Yeah,
Hey,
I've been making phone calls.
good. You know why? Because no one's doing it. Who better to tell the story from an Black American perspective and an African perspective? You know how you had Eddie Murphy coming to America? We
Yes.
have Dinah coming to Africa.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Entrance. We're looking at Africa as an emerging market and how you can enter that market with microfinancing. Okay? Another area, because finance is an issue, right? Let's look at another area. Africa has a booming tourist industry. Okay? Booming tourist industry. Okay? And with the Africa free trade, you're going to have more tourism. Now we're looking at micro businesses. Okay? One of the models I came up with is mobile hotel, mobile hotel,
Hmm.
because more and more people are going to the African continent to vacation.
Yes.
So that's an entrance into the market with low capital. And we're seeing, even though the African governments are not, that they tend not to spend their money in the rural areas, they spend it developing the urban area. Okay. But people who go to Africa on vacation, they want to go, not necessarily the rural areas, they want to go into places like the safari or the no man's land or wherever. Your mobile hotels for your mobile safari. Okay? The capital costs are not large. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah? So
Yes.
then you look at things in terms of when we're looking at taking the African continent from a developing stage to, we're doing I call it quantum jumping or quantum leaping. Okay. I was listening to all the big boys in the telecommunication. Okay. And they had this conference in Africa. And they said, okay, because many of you are into IT and development and telecommunication. And they were talking about, because of the sheer size of the continent, they said, look, to lay the infrastructure, this is what my dad did, okay? To lay the infrastructure, my dad laid the entire infrastructure for the internet for Trinidad, okay? And with the US, with the Navy. To lay the actual infrastructure to bring the African continent into first world, it's not going to take tens of billions. They said it's going to take hundreds of billions. But look at this. There was a young man, I think he was either from Kenya or Malawi. This is African ingenuity again. He got so sick and tired of not having Wi-Fi in his village. You want to know what he did?
He built a tower like
Yes, he did.
yeah.
Yes, he did. So if we take the concept of mobile Africa, because they're working on building the major roads, okay, not the rural roads. Okay, the governments are like, okay, the major roads for your major, they only focus on major corporations. They're forgetting about the rural. My thing is rural, okay, but
Right.
let them do the major roads because whatever. Okay, so let's look at this. Mobile Africa, this is a concept that I came up with, where you're literally quantum jumping the continent into developed status. And how you're going to do this? All your critical infrastructure needs, that not actual roads, okay, you can put that on the back of a bus or a truck. And you can bypass the hundreds of billions that it's going to take to power the entire continent and bring it into an internet age. You can do that in a couple of years at a fraction of the cost. Mobile Africa. And you can do that with little startup cost. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to show the GBF of the global Black family is this. What makes Africa unique to all the other countries is that there is so much latitude for you to get in and to bring your skill and receive return.
Right.
Another example. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, let me give you another
Go ahead.
example. There was a young man, okay? When he first started off, they laughed at him. This young man saw millions of tires, okay? Tires from trucks and cars. He saw and he looked at the tires and he said to himself, now Africa's a slipper wearing, I'm from the Caribbean, we wear slippers because it's so hot, right?
Right. He made the shoes out of the tires.
Yeah, bingo. And he became a millionaire. That's the point I'm trying to show you.
Mm.
He became a millionaire by converting rubber tires to slippers.
Today must be your trash day. Is
Huh?
that a garbage truck?
No, every time I decide to have a conversation, they come here to like have a conversation, you know? No,
Got you.
they're just putting down a truck. I don't know what it is. One of those huge dumpster trucks, I guess.
Oh, okay. All right. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they just stopped. So they're gonna be back up. They're gonna be back at it again for a second.
Oh, no
Sorry
problem.
about that.
No, that's fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Right? So look at this opportunity. The guy started off, he looked at some tires and was like, hey, the rubber tires that they give us, they're no good. And we're a slipper wearing culture.
Mm-hmm.
And he realized that the tires were more durable. They made the slippers last longer than the regular rubber slippers. And he converted it into rubber slippers and became a millionaire. What does that tell us?
How the ingenuity of African people.
Right. But it also tells us that if you can find a need, whether it's something like bringing Wi-Fi to your village or converting rubber tires to rubber slippers that last longer, if you can find a need on that continent, okay, let's look at the difference between need on the African continent and need in the United States, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you have needs, because we're looking at the different levels in which a business person develops a business. There are needs-based businesses, okay? A need-based business would be body wash, toothpaste, shampoo, lotion, stuff for women, stuff for men, hair care, electricity, gas, what else? That's a needs-based business, meaning you cannot go one day without it, right?
Right.
Then the second type of business is called want-based businesses. Okay, can you guys give me some examples of want-based businesses? Meaning you don't need it to survive, you just want it. How's the
Um,
chat room?
Chat room is going good. Everyone, make sure you hit that like button. Let me read some of these super chats. Shout out to Tabitha Dorcas for the super chat. Can you ask if she's working on anything on the continent and if she's looking for investors? I know she's trying to keep it low key though. I'm just wondering. And then let's see here. We had another super chat up here. She is dropping gems. Shout out to Jamal Omar for the chat, super chat. I mean, when you say want and not necessarily a need or a necessity, I mean luxury goods.
That's the third category, but you're right. Because
Mm-hmm.
wants also classify as luxury goods. Go
Right.
ahead. So what's a want?
Um, that
Okay,
you don't need. That's a want.
name me a product, one product that's a want product. A pair of Nike sneakers,
Nike sneakers,
right?
iPhones.
iPhone, that's a want. And how do you categorize a want product? A want product is when a people group or a person has excess amount of money above their needs, what you have left over, and you want to treat yourself,
Right.
right? So that's when you begin to spend things on your wants, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you have what Dinah's just said, luxury goods.
Mm-hmm.
So there are three types of market, okay? Three types of business opportunities. Your need-based business opportunity. That man saw a need for African people to have better rubber slippers and became a millionaire doing it. The young man saw that his village needed Wi-Fi and built it. Another one saw that his village needed electricity and built a tower and brought his village electricity. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a need. Okay. Another one is road. That's a need, right? So then we have want-based businesses. This is when all your needs are met, right? And then you want to treat yourself to something a little bit better, like an iPhone over an Android, Nike sneakers over, I don't know, regular sneakers,
Right.
designer clothes over clothes from Kmart. I don't know.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's your second category. Then your third category, which is also a want, is your luxury category, right? So when we differentiate the African market from the American market, both of them have necessities, wants, and luxury, right? But the American market is a more mature market. It's harder to penetrate these markets unless you're
You
coming
got
up
the
with,
money.
huh?
Unless you got the money.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're looking at a developing market with a population of 1 billion, where the needs are greater, right? Where
Right.
you have a rising working middle class, and upper middle class. And then you have your upper class.
Right. What about?
You have,
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead. Go ahead and finish. I got a question for you. Go ahead and finish.
you have more potential if you understand the dynamics of your market. And Africa, I'm telling you, is a great market from what I see spiritually for anyone who wants to go in and begin to produce whether a need-based product, a want-based product, or a luxury good. Go ahead.
What about Fafu Malau? She brought up Earthback homes. That you know a lot about that.
Yeah. So earth bag homes. Yep. Earth bag homes. I am a lover of earth bag homes, shipping container homes, and my newest love is Quonset huts because you can literally put them up in a day and they last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Quonset hut, Quonset. Okay. So let me explain to you about earth bag homes and why I actually had a anyone who wants to go, you can go to my website, Black Sunrise. It's spelled SONRISE.com. And if you go under project, you're gonna see what I call the Mother Africa Project, right? So
Right.
that project was designed after Earth Bag Home, but what I did is I wanted to revive what you, Dinah, have been doing very well is what's sitting right next to you.
This right here?
African art.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to revive African architecture
Mm.
that was
Mm.
bombed, destroyed, burned, and stolen and put in European museums.
Well, and see, and this is the thing about so like architecture. Like I go to African cities, and it's nothing more than Portuguese and European architecture all over the place. Predominantly, just you all European architecture. Nothing really African.
And remember, Dinah, you answered that question when you said that we have, and I came to the conclusion that we have Stockholm syndrome. You answered that question, remember?
Yeah.
Validation, right?
Like, because I want a nice like African dome home, like that's what I want. I don't, I keep seeing just these same old, just it's nothing African about these homes.
The McMansions. I want
Yeah,
to tell you guys.
they're just European McMatchins, which are fine, but I want like something that's like African, like traditional but modern.
So, Dinah, we have a lot in common. I want to tell you something.
Uh-huh.
African architecture, African Adobe architecture, which I've been looking at for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There is nothing on this planet that comes close. I've looked at it from Iraq, which they bombed. I looked at it in Iran. Iran was one of the first countries to invent the non-electric fan. I looked at it and the cooler, the ice cooler. I looked at it in Iran. They're spectacular. One of the places that it comes close is Turkey, okay, in Cappadocia, but that's not using Adobe.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about Swahili homes? Now, I think those are absolutely beautiful. Swahili architecture, like you'll see in the Zanzibar, Tanzania along the coast, Mombasa. Are you familiar with that at all?
I love you're talking about the dome with the wooden pillars. Is that it? The structural design, the shape, the thatched roof with the pillars.
They have the pillars, but it's more. What is that? It's Swahili. I wish I could. I gotta show you a picture of it, but it's Swahili architecture. I absolutely love it. But
Okay,
it's like kind of like Arab, African, and Indian fusion.
Oh, you're talking about the mosaic, the tile mosaic.
Mosaics and all that. Like
yes. Yep. That's that actually, yeah, it's hard to trace where that comes from because they kind of look Arabic and they kind of look Indian.
it's a mixture of all that. Because if you go to like Zanzibar along the Swahili coast,
I know
it's a mixture of African, Arab, and Indians. Because that's who's been coming back and forth.
Yeah, that's
that area.
That's the tile mosaic. Mm-hmm. That's the tile mosaic. And they use that same mosaic, but it's different. They paint it. Whereas they use in East Africa, they use the actual tile where they break up the tile and they create the mosaic picture. Mm-hmm. In West Africa, they do this, and Southern Africa, the Ndebele. I hope I pronounced that right. They actually paint the mosaic. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they still use the architectural features at the top, but they paint the mosaic in West Africa and Southern Africa when you're using the Adobe. But whereas in Eastern Africa, because they had the influence across the East Indian Ocean, they use the same technique but using tile, right? So when we look at how old that architectural style is, where do we find it? We find it in the pyramids.
Right.
Huh? Yeah.
Right.
So the same mosaic where you paint, where you paint all these grandiose pictures of daily lives or the symbols have meaning, we find that in ancient Kemet, Egypt, right? So, so I love the mosaic tiles. I love the mosaic tiles. I also like my favorite African architectural style is out of northern Cameroon called Musgum. Musgum, Mousgoum. That's one of them. The second one that I absolutely love is oh God, is it Senegal or Mali? The Jenne Mosque, the Mosque of
Yeah,
Jenne.
that's Mali. I've been there. I've been there. I got videos.
Mali,
I've been there. Mali. Jenna, I've
Mali.
been there. I've
Yeah,
been there.
that architectural style I absolutely, absolutely love, which is they have the similar step where you use the plank of wood and they use instead of putting what do you call these things when you these structures when you're fixing a building and they
The
put the
scaffold. The
scaffolding.
scaffold. Yeah.
Yeah, so they actually built the scaffolding into the architectural style.
Uh-huh.
Whereas, so we see where we get
Right,
the
right.
concept.
Where you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
yes. Isn't that
Yeah,
incredible?
everybody. I'll post the link to when I went to the Grand Mosque in Jenna. Um, I'll post it in the chat room. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Mother Africa project, to answer your question, sorry we took so long.
No, it's
To
not.
answer
Not.
your no problem. To answer your question, the earth bag homes now, earth bag homes are easy to build. Okay, very easy to build. You just have to get the chicken wire and the we call them crocus bags. I forgot what they rice bags. That's what they call them in the United States. Rice bag. The rice bag, the chicken wire, and then you lay your foundation. It's very easy to build. The only thing is this: you have to know how to use what they classify today. They call it a Roman arch, okay? But that arch is not originally Roman. That arch is a Cushitic arch. One of the first peoples on the planet that mastered the curve when dome structures was the Cushite, which the West took, Rome, and started calling it the Roman arch. That arch is not European, it's Cushitic. Okay? So this is why I wanted to revive African architecture because it's amazing. So back to the earth back homes. So the earth back homes are easy to build. Your only problem is you have to know how to create an arch. Okay? And it's also labor intensive. Here they go moving this thing again. Sorry
Right.
about that, guys. Okay? The second one, in terms of building structure, you're gonna need a lot of what is this thing called? Insulation because of the climate is your shipping container home. It takes 1 day to lay the home, the base foundation, the frame of the house after you lay the foundation, if you want a foundation. And I've been looking into the cost of shipping container homes on the African continent. You can get a 20-foot container for around 1,200 US dollars, depending on the country you live in.
Right.
Also, remember, Africa has major ports on the coast. Your country like Nigeria, your Ethiopia,
Yeah, yeah.
Kenya.
And at the Lagos port, I'm pretty sure there just be containers just everywhere.
Exactly. So if you're looking to build a shipping container home, it's going to take you 1 day, I'm sorry, to lay the foundation. That's $1,200. Shipping container homes, okay? So $1,200 for a 20-foot container. I don't know what the freight costs are to move it, but you're also going to need a crane and then you're going to need your roofing depending on how you built the structure, right? So that's
All
your
right.
shipping container home. Your Quonset hut. I want you guys to look into Quonset hut. This was created by the US military, okay? Or your barrack, okay? This was designed by the US military. It takes 1 day to put up, okay? They last 50 years, okay? And you come with your size and your roof, okay? And depending on what you want, you can literally have them design where your windows go, your walls go, how you want your roof, your lighting, all of these things into the actual Quonset hut. It takes 1 day to put up, and you're ranging from prices between $6,000, depending on size, depending on climatology, all the way up to, if you're looking for like a mega Quonset hut to live in, you know, all the way up to like, I guess, $100,000. But you can get a very large 3,000 or 5,000 square foot cone set hut at $20,000.
Mm.
Okay. And that's my new love now, cone set huts, because they're so unique. So these are three styles. So your fourth style is your adobe, okay, which is what Africans are masters at. Okay. There's still African artisans that can build in adobe. The only thing that you would need is to reinforce the exterior of the adobe for when you go through your 6 months of your rainy season. The issue with the adobe is that it's labor intensive. Okay, meaning it's a lot of work to go in, right? But it's perfect for the climate because the climate, acclimatizes. So when it's hot, it's cool. And when it's cool outside, it's hot, right? So it's temperate on the inside. So that's a fourth option that you have. And that's one of my favorite options because no one else on the planet, me, mastered Adobe architecture like Black Africans. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
No, that's it for right now. Let's see what we have here in the chat room. Um, people there's a ton of questions. We got to do a part 2 to this. Let's see here. Guys, do you guys have any questions? In fact, I'll go ahead and put the email out. If you guys want to call in, all right, please don't troll. If you want to call in, send me an email. We'll take a couple calls and we'll close out. If you want to call in, send me an email and I will email you the link.
Hey, Dinah?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the sister asked about funding. Now, the Mother Africa project that you can go to my website and you can see that. What I did in that project is I took the Adobe, Adobe, African Adobe, the African symbol of the circle, okay? And those of you who are African, you understand the significance and the power of the circle, whereas in the West, the base is a square, right? Which is actually not good if you're living in a house. It's better to live in a house that's circular than it is square for spiritual reasons. And this is why the Africans traditionally built in circles. Okay? It's much better to live in a circular house than a square house for many, many reasons, even in terms of health and peace and sanity, you know?
Right.
So in the Mother Africa project, I combined earth bag home with traditional African structure, and I designed it after the Great Walls of Benin.
Oh, wow.
Which is the circle within the circle within the circle within the circle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then on the inside, what I did, because I want to revive African interior design, which is something that I like that you do, sitting right next to you, in African interior design. Yeah?
Let's see here. Little Sharon wants to know, can you please tell us the name of the blockchain course that you mentioned yesterday in yesterday's chat?
Sure. The course is, it's called the Certified Blockchain Expert. Certified Blockchain Expert. It's $129 and it's from blockchain council, COUNCIL.org. The CBE or Certified Blockchain Expert, you do not have to know coding in order to become an expert. Now, to be a blockchain architect, okay, where you build the actual system, you would have to know coding. So there are many different levels where you can become a blockchain expert, okay? And they also teach you cryptocurrency, okay?
How long?
Also,
How long is the course? I'm sorry.
it's a 6-hour course for the CBE.
Oh,
Okay.
so it's just 6 hours. So it's not like a 2 month or.
No, because it's new technology.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
also, oh, sorry. Also, if you want to become certified in blockchain, do you know how much they're charging you? They're
How much?
charging you $3,000 to $4,000. This company certifies people who work in Microsoft and many big corporations.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So blockchain-council.org. COUNCIL.org. $129. Guys, take the course. Even if you don't use blockchain, now you know blockchain and you're not left behind, right?
Yeah. Marcus, what question do you have about logistics? Somebody had a question about logistics.
If anyone wants to call in, I don't mind, because maybe other people have other areas in which they
Well, guys, if
question.
you want to call in, email me. And then I'll send you the link. But what other questions do you guys have? Leonard, the Rainnetta's website is in the chat room. Ya Ankara Ankan wants to know if you can talk about bio-enhanced construction platforms.
Okay, say that again. Bio-enhanced.
Construction platforms.
No, I know nothing about bio-enhanced construction platforms.
Y'all, are you making stuff up, y'all? Y'all, are you in the chat room making up stuff? I'm just playing. Let me ask you this. How do you feel about these 3D printers? Are you familiar with that?
Yep, because now they're 3D printing homes.
How do you 3D print a home?
Go on YouTube and have a look. They're 3D printing homes. Yeah.
Okay, Echo Homes. Okay, Echo Homes. Are you familiar with Echo Homes?
Echo Homes? No.
Okay. Yeah, she's right. Just gotta go look it up. So I'm guessing they print it by piece, I would think. I don't know. But
they fully printed. They fully printed.
Guys, the email is searchforahuru@gmail.com. Searchforahuru@gmail.com. So any more questions before we log off?
No one wants to call in?
I guess not. I don't know.
Oh.
Searchforahuru@gmail.com. Okay, Leonard, again, Miss Jones' website is in the chat room. We keep posting it. Oh, do you have an opinion? Do you have an opinion on Libra coin?
Libra coin, I know nothing about Libra coin. That's Facebook. That's
right.
Facebook, right? I'll tell you this. What differentiates, and this is why I think the Fed's are a little bit resilient to it, but they're going to cave in because, big data. Facebook is one of the countries that control big data. So it's going to be very hard for the US government to say no to Facebook, okay?
Right.
What I do know is this, the difference between the other Bitcoin, well, some of the others, except Carrot Bars, is that they're backed by nothing, essentially, okay, which is like fiat currency. But Facebook wants Libra coin to be backed by what? The greenback, the US dollar.
Really?
Yeah.
So then what's the purpose of, then why would you invest in Libra coin then if it's backed by the US dollar?
Well, this is the thing. If the government allows Facebook to back that cryptocurrency with the US dollar, what do we know about the US dollar today? Let's go into some geopolitics.
Right now it's backed by oil for the most point, right?
Bingo. And it's backed by the military being able to make sure that it's backed by oil, right? Right. So that gives the US currency the #1 trading currency. But if you haven't been paying attention to BRICS, they're all dumping the US dollar.
Really?
Yeah. They're all dumping the US dollar. Like Russia wants its payments in, Iranian currency, which I forgot what it's called. The Chinese want their payment in, yuan. Okay. The Saudis just dumped the US dollar. China just dumped a bunch of American debt. Okay. So BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Okay. they all dumping the US dollar because of it's backed by the US military. Okay?
All right.
Meaning when you buy oil and gas, you use dollars, and if you don't, you get democracy. Okay? To put it in a nice way. So a lot of countries are saying, look, we can't compete, okay, because if we don't comply to the US financial hegemony, we get bombed. I'm just saying what the geopolitics it looks like, right?
All
So
right.
they're dumping the US dollar. Now, as a strategic move, Facebook says, we're not going to be like the other cryptocurrency. We're going to back it by the US dollar. Now, look
So,
at this
so,
move.
so if that's the case, then you could pretty much. But I'm just trying to figure this out because you could pretty much see. I don't want to say the raw thing and something happens. That's an easy way to kind of finagle money.
Bing, you just got it. So
Okay.
if the US government lets the biggest social media, if
Bro,
the,
you
U-
yourself.
if the US government,
There we go. All right, go ahead, go ahead.
okay, so if the US government, who
Kofi,
knows,
you gotta mute yourself, Kofi. All right, go ahead, Renata.
okay, so if the US government, who knows, because Americans are not paying attention, that the major economies, which is, I think, 2/3 of the global population, is dumping the US dollar. Okay, let's look at this now. Okay, which means that the countries who are the producers of oil and gas, of which the United States is one, I think one in the top, one in the top five for sure. 2 years ago, they were actually producing more than Saudi Arabia, I think, and Alaska has one of the largest. If they don't go into Haiti, okay, because Haiti and Venice, anyway, I don't even want to go there today. But anyway, if they're dumping the US dollar and Facebook decides we're going to back cryptocurrency, the biggest social media platform on the planet, back the US, back cryptocurrency with the US dollar, it gives a second win to the US dollar. Why? Because more people are on Facebook, okay? More people use Facebook more of the times than they buy oil and gas. This is strategic, strategic, strategic. The issue is whether or not Facebook will pay the US government 1 penny. They won't. And that's why the US government and Facebook is fighting.
1 penny? What do you mean paying 1 penny? Oh, paying them at
They
all?
don't pay taxes. They don't pay taxes.
Oh, Facebook does it.
No, none of them. They
Oh
all
wow.
skirt taxes. Yeah. They all find a way to skirt taxes.
Oh, wow. Shout out to Ya Uncle, the brother Ya. He wants to know if he's suggesting that you study eco homes.
Yeah, I'm into eco. Listen, I want to live in a, I want to live in, my ideal would be either a cone set hut or an earth bag home with African exterior and African interior. That's my desire, because I just like it aesthetically.
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
Kofi, you got a question, brother?
Yeah, man. I just wanted to talk about manufacturing on the continent, automotive manufacturing, and they say that Africa is the next manufacturing revolution is going to take place in Africa, and I just want to talk about like possibilities of like funding it, and who has like the biggest chance, whether it's people on the continent or people, let's say, in the West, either in Europe or in the United States, people of the diaspora and also Black Americans who has like the biggest advantage. One thing I've like ran into was the New York State Pension Fund, and they said there's about 6 billion in investments that's due for the African continent, because the the United States, they're trying to compete, of course, with China and all the other European nations who's in Africa, and I want to see should leaders on the African continent, should they fund themselves, or should they look towards places like the United States? Should they can they trust the United States in this funding?
I'll say this, I'll be diplomatic here. Okay, I'll be very diplomatic here. The relationship between Africa and the world, not just the West, right? Africa and the whole world is that of parasite and host. Okay, but there's a shift. There's a shift. We see the African Free Trade Agreement. You are absolutely right with the United States pivoting in their Africa policy, even though they still treat Black Americans absolutely, unequivocally terrible. There's a pivot. Why? I'll tell you why that pivot is taking place. The Chinese did what I call expansion theory. Okay, what's the expansion theory? The expansion theory, when Clinton gave China favored nation status in 1994, prior to that, the Chinese were indebted and absolutely poor. Okay, they were poorer than Africa. Getting classified, if the United States is serious about multilateral and bilateral equitable trade with the African continent, they should give Africa, the entire continent, favored continental status. Let me show you why. When Bill Clinton gave China favored nation status, what followed suit? The dismantling of American manufacturing and moving it overseas. But the Chinese were very strategic in how they utilized favored nation status. They used what I call a 70-30 rule, okay? Well, more like 90-10 rule. They had policies in place where you could not come into China without Chinese people running the company, Chinese people in managerial positions, and Chinese people doing the labor. Let me say that again. After they got favored nation status from the United States, the Chinese were strategic in how they utilized favored nation status. Okay? It had to be any outsider coming in had to have Chinese executives, Chinese management, and Chinese labor. Okay? From 1994 to 2019, China lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty. That's the good side of what they did. I don't want to talk about the bad in what they do, because all countries have corruption and all countries have absolute corruption. If the United States is seriously want to compete with the Chinese, which they need to, because the Chinese in America's own backyard, which Northcom and Southcom monitor, that's the US military for the Americas, are building a canal to rival the Panama Canal. Okay, right here in America's backyard. Okay, and I think it's in is it Nicaragua? I don't want to say the country because I'm going to get it wrong. Okay, that goes from literally the Caribbean Sea into the Pacific. So the Chinese are already strategizing for dominance in the Western Hemisphere.
Oh, wow. So they can just cut through like Central America.
Bingo. They just cut America's trade because that Panama Canal, which is built by Black people.
Oh, okay. So they can just cut through Central America. Oh, wow.
Bingo. Now you know why the immigrants are at, I don't want to go into that today. Because many Black Americans might get angry at me.
No. Let's go there. Come on, let's go there. I got it. I mean, come on now. We got about,
I don't want Black Americans
for about 30 more minutes. Now you got to run a couple hours. 30 more minutes. But go ahead. Let's go there.
Let's go. Black Americans, I need you to understand something. You are right when you say you need to limit illegal immigration. But in order to understand the dynamic of illegal immigration, you must understand how your country projects power globally. Okay? Let me say that again. In order for you to understand illegal immigration, You must understand how your country projects power globally. And some of the ways in which your country projects power is through coups, it's through armed militia, overthrowing of government, or democracy at the barrel of a military weapon.
Economic hitmen.
Bingo. When it happens, which is what is going on in Central America right now, and they do this to control resources. Americans need to understand, even if you live in poverty in the United States, 90% of what is in your house before it becomes a finished product, where do you think it comes from? Can anyone answer me whether 90%, actually it's 80% of the raw material that is in your house before it gets to China, where does it come from? The African continent.
Mm.
And if it's not the African continent, it's Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. Your bauxite comes from Jamaica. 70% of gas from Trinidad comes to the United States. Many of your tropical fruits come from Central America.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the rest of the resources, with the exception of your plastic, comes from the African continent. So if the resources are migrating to the West, whether the United States, Canada, or Europe, why do you think the people come to your country in droves? Because their resources are here.
Mm.
And they are unable to access their resources in their country.
Now,
Okay.
now let me ask you this. Now I got to play. I don't advocate the devil for anything, but I got to play devil's advocate. When are, I guess, immigrants gonna fight back and take what's theirs in their countries that they're coming from?
It's not as easy as you think. For example, in Haiti, they're fighting back and they're genociding the fighters. In Ecuador, they're fighting back and they're not Ecuador, I'm sorry. Not Ecuador. It's
Venezuela?
Venezuela. Yeah, oh my God, Venezuela. Venezuela is right 8 miles off the coast of Trinidad. Let me give you guys some geopolitics of Venezuela before I answer your question.
Uh-huh.
There is a gulf that was fought when the Nazis were in the Americas. Okay. Do you want to know, Black Americans, what country that the United States used, that was given to them, loaned to them by Great Britain, to stop the Nazis from taking over the Americas? It was my country, Trinidad. Okay? The Gulf of Paria. Okay? Go look it up. Gulf of Paria.
Whoa, hold on. Okay. So you're saying the Nazi Germany was here in the Americas, ready to invade?
The Nazis were in the Americas sinking the supply boats. And the British, who controlled Trinidad at the time, didn't know how they could defeat the Nazis because they were sinking the supplies. This is where you get a lot of World War II war veterans, Black war veterans from the Caribbean. These are the unsung Black veterans of the Caribbean.
Right.
Okay? The British said to the United States, look, it's easier for you to defend the Americas because you are in the Americas from the Germans were in the Americas, destroying supply chains. The Americans set up a base in what is called Chaguaramas in Trinidad, which is the Gulf of Paria. I'm going to tell you a little bit of history about that, why the United States wants Venezuela, okay? When the United States set up the military base in Chaguaramas, they were able to push back the Germans from sinking, the German U-boats from sinking the supply chain that was supposed to help the war on the European continent. That's how far the Nazis advanced. Go look it up. Those of you who are Caribbean know about the black soldiers from the Caribbean that helped the United States and Great Britain defeat the Germans. Black history is a lot more complicated than you know.
Yeah, but but they don't share that part.
Oh no. We get nothing. We
Yeah,
know this, right?
they don't share that part.
All right, so let's fast forward to this Gulf of Paria and why the United States wants Venezuela. The largest oil field on the planet is in that Gulf of Paria. 70% of Trinidad's oil and gas goes to the United States already. But Venezuela's oil and gas, the largest of which is in the Gulf of Paria, which the tiny island of Trinidad and Tobago shares. They just reached an agreement a couple of years ago to share that Gulf of Paria. Okay? The United States wants control of that large oil in the Gulf of Paria. And Venezuela is 8 miles off the coast of Trinidad. So if the United States gets an American-backed government into Venezuela, who do you think now controls the largest oil reserves on the planet?
America.
That's why the immigrants are coming to the United States.
Their economy is being sabotaged.
Bingo.
But let me ask you this, Rainetta. But why come to the USA and not Canada or, because that's just the stories I hear. Oh, the genocide's going on in our country, and they come to America, which is a country founded on genocide. They say, the president of the United States or whatever, the governments, they're funding our leaders, and they're now their puppets. But then they come and they support the United States government. Like that's just the part I'm confused on.
I'm confused too. I mean, if you're in America, you can't really disrespect the government. You know what I mean? So it's like you're what is it? You're invited. So that's the confusing part. But I'll say this: it's easier for them to make money here.
Right. See, I wish that they would be like, look, we come to America for the money. That's it. But when they get into genocide and all this other stuff, and knowing that America is the most violent genocidal place ever, then that's where I get confused.
A lot of them are also cut off from the internet. They're cut off from the media. A lot of them have internet shutdowns, and I've been trying to figure like why, how come Congolese people have to come here, go through Brazil and come through Central America, when they could just take the information off the internet and just create DIY, do-it-yourself platforms. It's because the internet is not reaching them and the information's not reaching them. So all they know is America. All they know is that American dream that gets fed to the world. That's all they know.
And also you have to remember, America and Great Britain and France and Germany, they are better at marketing their country's image. Whereas Black countries get projected with blackface. Right? Let me give you an example. America, land of the free, home of the brave, the American dream. This is what they market to the world, right? Europe, Great Britain, the sun never sets on Great Britain.
Right.
Okay? When you talk about France, the French dynasties and imperial France. When you talk about Germany, except for the glitch with the Nazis, when they talk about Germany, Germans, they actually really are the best engineers on the planet next to the Japanese, So when they talk about Germany, Germany has this ability. They came from 2 world wars. They caused 2 world wars and still come to run Europe. That's who's running Europe today. So when the West markets themselves internationally, they are better able to market themselves and project their countries as places to be. Whereas when we see there's a shift going on now with the guy Wode Maya, which I love what he's doing,
Yeah, I love
but
that.
for the love of God, I can understand why the African countries are not making him an African global ambassador, because he's doing the marketing to change their image more, and yourself, Dinah,
Yeah.
to change the image of Africa to the world than what the countries are doing.
All right.
They
Me-
don't market themselves. They allow people like the BBC. Let me show
yeah.
you this. When the BBC comes in, it's flies and pot-bellied children dying of starvation. When MSNBC goes in or CNN goes in, it's there's a war in Somalia, there's a famine in Ethiopia, there's children are being kidnapped and raped by Boko Haram. It's never anything good unless they want to steal, of course. The
Right.
African continent doesn't, and Black countries, they don't do a good job of projecting the good things about themselves.
There needs to be a certain propaganda, even if it's over exaggerated, about the African continent and about Black people, period. Once that propaganda is in the minds of Black people and Black nations, that's when they're gonna get the ideas that they could overperform on in their nations, and that's a part of the war effort. I see. Yeah, I put Guatemala and I put people like search for Uhuru at the top, and it's only a matter of time before this propaganda is going to sweep across Africa, and it's inevitable. I feel like it's inevitable. It's just people have to be able to take risks. Maneuvering throughout Africa can be dangerous, but it can also
No,
make and break.
it's not. It's not. It's not.
You're sacrificing. You're making a big sacrificing. You're sacrificing whatever 9 to 5 job you have for entrepreneurial skill set with with the best, with a good backing, with some sponsorship, with help from the government. You can be protected, and you could get this propaganda out there. I feel like that's what needs to happen. I wouldn't say it's totally dangerous in our mindsets to leaving the grid, leaving our safe societies and comforts of our Western worlds. It is considered something controversial, and in which I would like to break that habit myself.
Mm. Shout out to, let me read some of these super chats. Shout out to Ketley Charles, our Haitian sister. Wow, my sister knows her stuff. I wish to join this beautiful conversation just for 2 minutes. Ketley, send me an email. Email me and I'll send you the link, Ketley. Send me an email. She's super intelligent. Indeed, our resources have been revolutionizing Europe and America far too long. Then I got one more super chat up here. Please know that what's going on is not human. It's Nazis. Okay. Ketley, send me a link. I mean, send me an email and I'll send you the link.
Dennis, can I say something?
Oh, of course you can. Go ahead. And we have extra time too, so I don't have to leave. So we got time. Go ahead.
Okay. So I wanted to piggyback. What's the young man's name who was just speaking?
Kofi.
Kofi. Sorry about that. Kofi. Kofi said something very important. I want the GBF, I want Black people, okay, to understand something, okay, what the African continent is not doing in full capacity, okay? I'm going to show you a secret that I learned about the Japanese, the Germans, the British, well, the British, oh God, the British, the French, or the West, the United States, and Canada, what they do that helps them to grow their economies that the African continent has not capitalized on. And this is an area that all Africans need to press their governments to do. The United States, the bedrock of the United States economy, is what you call, even though there's a shift taking place, is what you call your small business, or what we used to call your mom and your pop. And what's pivotal about this driving force, it is not the Fortune 500 and the lesser known Fortune 1000 company. It is the mom and pop stores, your small business. This is why I strategize for Black people to enter in at a micro business level, because it's harder for us to enter in from a small business level. And I'll explain that in a second. The second thing that you need to understand about China, what helped China spearhead into a first world country? What helped Japan after the Second World War? What helped Germany after 2 world wars? What helped Great Britain after 2 world wars? The French, well, the French is a little bit complicated and the British are a little bit complicated, right? But what helped these countries was two things. The majority of their economy that created a thriving middle class was your small business. The second thing that they did, okay, which helped them grow their economy, was government funding those small businesses. Let me stress this. The bedrock of the Western economy, the largest portion is small businesses, which creates the buffer between the upper class and poverty. My strategy is to come in from the ground up, not to enter from the middle class, okay, which is small business. The second thing they did was the government, okay, that is your state, your local, and your federal, funding those small businesses. This is why the African continent is not achieving, even though they are achieving phenomenal growth rates between 7 to 14%, they are not actualizing the types of out of poverty like China, hundreds of millions, like India, using micro businesses with your Grameen banking, okay, which is micro funding, which brought millions. India's a population of 1.2 billion. Millions in India came out of poverty using microfinancing, okay, and which sustains the Western economy via small business. If the African government could have some faith, which they don't, in people who look like them, which they don't, they have faith in China and they have faith in the West. They don't have faith in people who look like us, which is terrible. If they can have faith in people who look like us by allocating, I believe, 1% of the GDP, 1%. The global African GDP, I think it's set at some states 1.2 trillion, some states 2.3 trillion. 1% of that GDP to funding micro businesses and small businesses, injecting capital into those businesses, they will be on par, much the same as China, India, the West, and Europe. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Let me read this comment real quick. Miriam, Kofi, you have anything you want to add?
The only thing I wanted to add was the only thing I wanted to explain was the 3D housing technology, but we're kind of far away from that. You know, that's about it. I want to say thank you for bringing me to your platform, and check out my Couples Productions channel. I make films, and I definitely want to make films on the continent, and that's about it.
All right, brother, we appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you, man. Take care.
No problem. Ketley, I sent you the link, so if you want to hop on, let me know. You have the link, Ketley. I emailed it to you. Well, go ahead, Miss Jones. Go ahead.
Okay, so these are some of the things. So what I need, people who look like you and me, what I need you guys to do is you need to put pressure on the 54 African governments to begin allocating, even if it's a fraction of a percent You're looking at a fraction of a percent between 1.2 trillion to 2.3 trillion dollars, even if it's a half a percent toward funding for micro businesses and funding for small businesses. If the African Union or the African government can see that they can catapult their continent by simply allocating half a percent or 1% into micro business startups and into small business startups, they can be on par with Europe, Asia, and the United States, because this is pivotal. What these three regions did. The Chinese pulled 200 million out of poverty doing this. Germany came back from 2 world wars doing this. Japan came back from the Second World War doing this. The United States has always done this. France did this, and England used two models. One was funding businesses. The other was the influx with the Windrush generation to help them rebuild. Okay? So if the African government can see that this is the missing link in the economic chain and begin to seriously take people who look like you and look like me and believe in us, it's simple, it's faith, believe that people that look like you and look like me can actually do it and allocate funding on a macroeconomic scale, you will revolutionize that continent in less than 10 years.
Let's see what else we have here in the chat room. Everyone, thank you for joining. Make sure you hit that like button as you come into the chat room. Please hit that like button. Someone says you need to run for president of his African country. I'll vote for you. I'll vote for you.
No, thank you.
Hold on now. John Claude, you want to hop on, brother? This is my brother from the Gabon.
Okay.
John Claude, if you want to hop on, let me know.
I'll tell them what my area is for Africa.
Go ahead.
Okay. My area for Africa is this. I'll tell you why. And anyone, please, if you want to hop on, please hop on. My area is specifically this. When you look at the African continent, we got to go back in time for a second, okay? The African continent and India was designed for two things, okay? When the Europeans came there, okay, they built it in a way for two things, mainly one, actually. It was to move the raw materials from the interior to the ports, right? Never forget this. When you look at how the African continent, the major cities were designed, it was not designed in a way for the natives to participate in the economy except as the labor class. They designed the infrastructure to move the raw materials from the interior to the coast. They did this on the African continent. They did this on the Indian subcontinent. Okay? Now, what is the problem with that? What is the problem with that? The problem with that is that when you design any country or city like that, kind of like how they design the Black community, when you look at how Black communities in the United States are designed, they are designed in a way where you cannot have employment within those communities. That means that your dollar does not get circulated within the communities because they were not designed for businesses to stay. Right?
You're absolutely right.
Right? Let's look at this now. Right? So fast forward this. Look at the design, okay? The city design or country of the design of the country. They designed it for a working class to be either a consumption class, okay? But they never designed it for the working class to be a competitive class or the working class to be a power class. Does everyone understand it?
Mhm.
Right? So when we're looking at money and how money moves, you have to look at how they originally designed the African continent. You have your laborers in the interior, and their job is to get the raw materials, move it to the coast. And by the time it gets close to the coast, it moves from Black people getting the raw materials to non-Black people controlling it. And then it goes into the second and third phase of the production stage, which is no Black people involved whatsoever, because the value goes up. We mirror that to how Black communities in the United States are designed. Then what do you end up having? At the bottom rung is your laborers who get pennies. Remember that pennies on the dollar again?
Right, pennies on the dollar.
There you go. So the laborer, because they're controlling only the raw materials and not the finished goods, when you look at mirror that with the Black community, the people in the Black community are designed as the labor class.
Oh,
Partially consumption.
our
Sorry.
sister Ketley's on. Ketley, we got a lot of background noise. It's like echoing.
Oh, on me, on my part. Can you? Is it okay now? Is it much better?
Hold on. Hello.
Hello?
Okay, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. You want me to continue?
All right, Ketley, you got a question, Miss Ketley?
Okay.
Everybody, shout out to Ketley, everyone.
Sag passé.
Yes, like passé.
Naboulé.
I'm from. Yes, I mean the conversation is so juicy, and I don't want to be long, but my sister, congratulations to you. I mean, I can't believe that we still have in 2019, we have people like you and Abba Faye still fighting. You know, you guys are not materialistic. You're not chasing Jordan. You're not chasing big ear. I mean, you know, you're not chasing material stuff. You're fighting for. I can't believe that, you know, we still have people like you in 2019. I would never thought that I would have people like you guys, you know, that are fighting for our rights right now. So Mike, I wanted to come in not only to congratulate and compliment both of you for, you know, the struggle, because I mean, literally, I know what you guys are doing is not your livelihood. It's not, you know, what you're doing is, You said something?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, what you guys are doing is not your livelihood, and that's not what is taking care of the bills. But yet you guys are so passionate about it. And when you were talking about the resources and the raw material, I felt like I had the need to jump in, my sister, because not too many. I want to congratulate Abafe again for when you said, you know, don't want to talk about it, and he said no, you have to talk about it, because you know. A lot of us, we don't know. All we do, go hit the 9 to 5, go to work. You know, can't wait for the weekend to come in so we can have a little bit of fun on the weekend. You know, we're just minding our business. And you're right. You are absolutely right. Every single thing that you see in America, I can attest to it because I'm a foreigner. I know everything that you see in the United States, the raw material is literally from tropical. You said everything else, but I just wanted to add the tropical, because a tropical country is a rich country. That's why Africa is super rich. That's why Asia is the second richest. That's why in the land that we have in South America, in the land that we have in the Caribbean, it's super rich because of the weather. That's why it is so rich. And if we don't have a voice, if our government, African government. That's why I like the Pan-Africanist movement, because the Pan-Africanist movement, it embraces Africa, because whoever controls Africa controls and rules the world.
I think all mommy's juice because
And the day.
Because I burnt so bad.
Hold on 1 second. All right, go ahead.
And the day Africa get its independence, Africa will be again an empire of the world. Because keep in mind, all those resources that you just mentioned, sometimes people don't, okay, like I'm a nurse. And just a prime example, the G-tube that we use in the nursing home, the G-tube flushes, the G-tube lines, the gauze, the plastic bags, the gloves, All of that come from one specific tree called the rubber tree. When they first invented the rubber tree, they had mass production in Africa. Then when they wanted to have several cities for that, then they went and brought it to several areas in South America and the Caribbean. They did not have enough space for it. What they did, Brazil allowed them to have a certain area to do the mass production. Firestone, Goodyear, and listen, that latex, that rubber tree it in itself is enough to be the third world food stamp holder. That rubber tree is enough to feed poor people. I'm saying just the rubber tree alone. As a nurse, I know when you having certain surgeries that you have, they have to use like some people they're allergic to whatever they may be allergic to, maybe the thread or whatever. Sometimes if you're not allergic to the latex, the raw natural rubber, they put the rubber on you and they seal your body after major surgery. We have enough resources. Abefe, you are a young man. You're very young. I want you to pull as much soldier as you can pull behind you. Your sister started with you. I am not going to leave you. I am not going to leave you behind. And I'm very pleased to have met this sister right here. Oh, that girl, this girl right here, she's powerful. Listen, we need more people like you guys. We need to give our African government heat. We need to give our government in the United States heat, because enough is enough. We have enough resources. And then, my biggest problem with the United States and Europe, tears about to come down my eyes. I pray that I don't shed any tears over this. But my biggest problem with the United States and America, you're doing all that tiffing. They're like a bad uncle. The uncle is raping you. He's literally having sex with you every day. You're nothing but 14 and 15 and 16, 17 years old. You're not even telling anybody that he's having sex with you. But yet he has so much money, he don't want to give you nothing. He don't want to give you no food. He don't want to pay your school fee. He doesn't want to do anything. America and Europe is a bad, horrible, perverted uncle. While they doing all that tiffing, while they doing all that stealing, the least they would put the 3 basic necessities for us. They would put school. They would put access to food. They would help us to produce. Not only Haiti, Jamaica. Do you guys? I don't know if you guys have saved a lot in your area.
The #1 exporter of bauxite to the West.
Yum, the yellow yum, my favorite yum. Everything. Right there, the soil is so rich in Jamaica. These people in Jamaica should be walking around like.
Not to cut you off, my dear, but Jamaica also has gold, which the Chinese are secretly mining and taking out. Haiti has gold as well. Trinidad has gold as well. Go ahead. Sorry.
Uranium. We have every single thing in there. I mean, my sister. Listen, guys, I don't know what to tell you. I told you that before, and I'm gonna say it again. I know, honey, right now your head is full. I know you're overloaded. I know you have a whole lot going on in your head right now, but my dear, we're gonna have to team up, create an event. One day we could meet at least once a month or once every 3 months, where we could have live conversation, live debate. Okay, live, go with different people, meet someone. Listen, I would jump on a plane, I would jump on my car and go meet up with you in Atlanta if that's where you want to do it. I would jump and get my people, get out as much as I can, even get the youngins, bring them, rent a place for 2-3 hours, give us notice. We got to come and talk. This conversation cannot be stopped. We cannot stop with this conversation. They cannot stop, because you know what? Our ancestors paved the way. Our ancestors died. When I found out that Martin Luther King died at the baby age of 39, in the Caribbean or in Africa, that's the age people get married. They get married at 30 and 39 because they be 45, 48 years old still having kids. That was a young man. They died, they sacrificed. So we cannot let all that spirit gone like that. We got to keep fighting. And like I told you, I want y'all to know, my sister, my lovely sister, your mouth, your knowledge, super powerful, super powerful. I want you to know they're watching you. They pay high school kids. YouTube pay high school kids to go over our stuff, okay? To go over our stuff, and they're watching us. We're gonna have to speak and be real careful. You heard about that lady who the activists they killed in Louisiana. I don't know how that went down. But
Yep,
you know,
they found her in the trunk.
It was her tenant that killed her.
oh, hot and okay, so okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to go
Allegedly, because she
Allegedly,
ran a
okay,
black
allegedly.
African museum, a black
because you
American museum. So think about it,
because they
right?
are after us. They don't want us to be wake, and then they don't want us to go back to the African diet. Abefe now know the African diet. He didn't know it before, but God bless him. Now he knows the African diet. Because Abefe will throw down some yam, some yuca, some.
Mhm.
Now he knows the African diet because he know a natural carbohydrate. They don't
Right.
want us to. They want us to say to those cured meat. They want us to say to these sausages. They want us to listen. We have work to do, guys. Guys, we have work to do. And you guys are so knowledgeable. You guys are so knowledgeable. You guys, you guys know what you guys are doing. So we're gonna have to be more productive, and we're gonna have to find a way to have as much people as we can, educate as much as we can, because this fight, we're not gonna let those blood win in vain. We can't. We can't. I wanted to congratulate you, my dear. I'm listening to you. I'm having goosebumps because every single thing that you think about it, we revolutionized Europe and America. You go to Walmart, you go to Dollar General, you go to 7-Eleven, you see all these things. Where do they come from? You're right. The raw material, they go ahead, when they don't get them in Africa, they go to the Caribbean, or they go to the Pacific. They go to Fiji. They go to the Australian area in the Pacific and go get, because those areas are tropical as well. And they go get them, process them in China, and bring them here, and then and we're thinking America's beautiful. No, America's not beautiful. America is dead. First of all, the group that make America beautiful was Black American. They came with their knowledge, with their expertise, with everything, and they make it beautiful. And then with the stealing, the way that you said that they're stealing the resources, make America above and beyond beautiful. Oh my goodness, guys, you guys give me goosebumps right now. I'm just gonna be quiet for now and let you guys go on and follow up. I just came from work this morning. I haven't even slept yet.
Okay, and then we have JC on now, brother. Now, JC, you there? I got you on mute. Hold on, let me unmute you. Unmute yourself, JC. Unmute. Try to unmute yourself. Because I had to mute you because you had the noise in the background. Hold on. Yeah, you gotta unmute yourself. Look in the settings. You should be able to unmute yourself. Rainetta, you wanna add, Ms. Jones? You wanna add anything to that?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
One, I want to tell you thank you so much for your words of encouragement. I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of Dynast, and I'm very proud of Wode Maya. I think it's important. I think it's very important that we put some pressure, and Dr. Moon and Phil from the Advice Show. We need to do, the first thing we need to do is we need to designate people like this as Black cultural ambassadors. Let me repeat that. Yes. People like Dinah, Wode Maya, Phil from the Advice Show, Dr. Mumbi, and several others need to be given the designation of Black cultural advisor, okay, or ambassador, okay? Why is that important? Because it is important because it puts the power of the Black image back into Black hands. The second thing that we need to get the governments to do is, if you're going to have a relationship with the West, which has historically been a parasite host relationship, and the incoming China, we need to learn to copy, okay? We need to learn to copy only what they do good to succeed. Let me explain what I mean by that. When the United States gave China favored nation status in 1994, the Chinese did not let them just come into China to overtake Chinese culture. They limited how they were going to do business in China, where China had an upper hand of 70 to 90%. The relationship was Chinese executives at the top, Chinese executives at the mid-level, and Chinese employees. Whereas when we look at the dynamic of how Africa is doing its global relationship at the top, mid-level, it's outsiders at the top, outsiders mid-level, and then the low level are Black people.
Can I say something about that, Dennis, please?
Oh, go ahead. Oh, JC's on. Go ahead, JC.
Okay, so I've been listening, and thank you for having me back, by the way.
JC, tell everybody where you're from. And
So I was born in Kinshasa, Congo, and I grew up half of my life in Gabon and the other
Oh,
half.
tu parles français?
Je parle français couramment, ma
Oh, bonsoir. Comment
Bonsoir,
vas-tu?
ça va très
Ça
bien.
va bien et toi?
Ça va.
Ah, j'aime le Congo beaucoup.
J'aime beaucoup le Congo, mais c'est très bien.
Oui.
So, first of all, in regarding to Ketley, you were talking about Robert earlier, and just so that everybody knows, the economy in Belgium was developed around rubber, and that rubber was coming from Congo. And if Belgium is rich today, it's because of that rubber. Okay, so that's one thing. And anywhere you have volcanoes, you have other things that come after a volcano. So in Haiti, for instance, you have volcanoes, it burns, but once it's gone, you discover a lot of resources. That's just how nature does its magic. Anyway, as far as the statement that was just made, as far as comparing what China, India, and all these places have been doing with the economics and all that, I just want to be able to make this clear. The history of Chinese people coming into America was a history of choice. They chose to come to America. They chose to come and they study whatever America had to offer and brought that back to their mainland. Africans, or if you want to call them African Americans, did not come here by choice. For the most part, if it's not 100% of them, had no idea of where they came from. And the proof is that today we have to rely on DNA to go back and find out where your lineage came from. But you can't tell which family you actually came from when Chinese and Indians are able to do so. So their development, their ability to succeed is overpassing our ability to actually connect to ourselves. Before we actually think about the economics, we have to think about ourselves. We can't be blaming people for not knowing who they are. And everything that I'm hearing from, I don't know, what's the other sister's name? Mrs. Jones, is making it as if though we have to shoot ourselves in the foot for not knowing that we have material that actually can make cell phones. Well,
yeah, we did not know that. We didn't know that.
Exactly. So, in 1980, even the white man, the regular white man, didn't have a cell phone. You needed to work at the CIA to have a cell phone. Those are technologies that they developed without us knowing what we had in our own soil. It's because of today's technology, because of all the windows that they agreed to open, that we now know what we have. So how do you make a difference in your own living?
Well, I'm
if
sorry,
you don't know?
Can I answer for Ms. John? And then Ms. John, you can answer after me, please.
Sure, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, in Ms. John's defense, I don't think she really want to shoot somebody behind. We did not know, and then now they come and exploit it, and then she's not making it sound like it's our fault because we did not know. It was the government. But I think what really Ms. John want to point out, and what I'm getting from it is the fact that even if you come to my house and I have something that, let's say I didn't know that I have the things that I have in my house that you want, you cannot just take it just because I forgot that I had it. You have to ask me, hey, can I have this? Or do you want an offer for it? So the government,
I agree with that statement.
yeah,
I
the
agree with that
system.
statement.
Let me tell you, they should.
The only difference is that just like they did with slaves, they didn't ask to take them. The same way they did with the material that they took. They took uranium from the Congo to create the
Space, the
bomb,
fighting, the fighting space
the
shuttle.
bomb. Not even before that, the bomb that actually exploded
In Japan, Hiroshima.
in Japan,
Yeah,
in Nagasaki.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah.
Exactly. So, do you think that they told the Congolese people, okay, we're taking your uranium and we're gonna go and
But that's
build the
not the
bomb
and
that's gonna kill? And up to today, you have people that suffer from
that is true.
malformation,
That is true.
malformations in the States, in
That is true.
China, in Japan,
And
and in
Vietnam.
India,
Yeah.
and in Vietnam because of the residue of that
But
uranium.
what could we
So
do?
now
We
we
couldn't
are
do anything about it.
responsible.
We couldn't do anything about it.
That's
Our
my point
government,
exactly. That's my point exactly. Our government was just as ignorant.
they were
Then
greedy. They
they,
were greedy.
they didn't know what they had.
That's number two. And number two,
I want you to understand that
Can
is
I
that
can I interject something here really quickly?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. I
And they
want
were
you
not
guys to.
educated. They
I
were as
want you.
dumb as I don't know what. They did not
Okay,
know how to read and write.
Miss K, I know you're excited, sister, but we gotta let the Miss Jones speak. I know you're excited. I know you're excited.
I'm sorry,
It's
Miss Shaw.
okay.
Go ahead.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
It's okay. I'm Caribbean. I know. We talk over each other. It's a sign of love. And in American culture, you have to wait till the other person gets quiet and then you speak. In the Caribbean, we talk over each other. So that's I understand. I understand. It's no big deal. But let me say something to Mr. Tell me your name again.
Jean-Claude Chimena Mbui.
Jean-Claude. Okay, Jean-Claude.
No,
In the
really call
country.
me Chimena.
Okay,
Jean-Claude is my
Chimena.
French name. Chimena is
Okay, I'm
my
sorry,
African name.
Chimena.
Mhm.
Jean-Claude. Two things. The country where you were born, there is one resource in your country, the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Mhm.
The valuation of that one resource
Mhm.
is valued, one resource, this is African, is valued at 4 trillion US dollars.
That's the
Coltan.
cocoa.
Okay? One resource.
Mhm.
The richest country on the planet
Mhm.
is the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yes,
Now,
that's true.
Now,
potentially, but not effectively.
let me elaborate on that a bit.
Thank you.
Thus, the reason why certain groups have made the secret agreement like this.
Is it only me? I can't hear anymore.
I think Miss Jones, you still there? Oh, she fell
Probably
off.
her phone dead. Maybe her phone
Yeah,
dead.
she fell off. She fell off. Oh, she's
Oh,
back on.
here she
Back on
is.
now.
Okay, so my call dropped.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
let me use better words.
Real quick, guys, can we get those likes up? We have 229 people watching, only 136 likes. Please hit that like button. Please hit that like button. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so certain pacts were made to keep Congo in the same economic position. These are external contracts that were made to keep Congo and Haiti in the same economic position. The second thing I need you to understand about uranium and the atom bomb. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but you can go look it up. Splitting the atom or the atom is not new. You're African, you know.
Yeah.
This is where they get the derivation, where the Bible corrupted the word atom, meaning first,
First.
and called it the Adam, meaning man.
Mhm.
Okay? Splitting the atom is not new technology, it's old, and it was found in Kemet, where you call Egypt, and also in Southern Africa and Western Africa, the knowledge of the atom. Your country that you grew up in, Gabon, the oldest nuclear mines on the planet, dating back 100 million years old, is found in Gabon. It's called the Oklo mines in Gabon. So for those of you that think that any of this is new, it's not. It's just that Africa did not practice and refuses to practice because of the culture of hospitality, which is killing us.
Yep.
We refuse to practice what the Chinese practice, what the Japanese practice, what the Europeans practice, and what white Americans practice. And the Saudi, which is a closed door policy on foreigners. Let me go into that in a little bit.
Yeah, Italy did that after 1945, the Second World War. They decided to live in Austria. In French, it says it's called. I understand what you're saying. You close you close your gates to everybody, and you live within yourself and within your own
to a
means.
degree. What I'm saying is, African
And China
hospitality.
did that. China did that even with their people, and
Bingo.
only allow a few of the people to leave or to flee because they had too many children. Otherwise, they were going to kill some of them, mainly the female.
African hospitality is the number one reason why we will forever remain at the bottom unless we begin to change it. The outsider, let me give you a history in West Africa, Mansa Musa. Okay, those of you from Mali.
You made a huge mistake.
Mansa Musa is the reason why the African continent was re-invaded by the Arabs.
With the gold rush.
Okay, because of the African culture of sharing wealth at the time.
The word was authoricism. The word was authoricism.
My sister John.
I'm sorry. That was the word to define how we decide to live within ourselves and open a few doors to the outsiders.
Right.
That's authoricism. Yeah. Okay.
So the cultural issue that Africa has to learn to adopt, okay, is much of what the Saudis do, much of what China does, Japan does, and the West under the control of white Europeans do.
Miss Jones, I agree fully with what with that statement. However, we are talking about a continent. We are not talking about a country.
Okay,
and that is the issue that I'm looking at. I'm sorry, I needed to make that statement.
Okay, I understand that. But each country can begin to develop. Let me give you an example, okay? The 70-30 rule, okay? China did it 80-20. The West does it 90-10.
10.
Okay? Let's look at this rule. When you have resources, 90%, this is how the West does it. This is how China did it when they got favored nation status. Okay? The Chinese gave the West access to their large population, and then they supplied manufacturing tools. But what the Chinese did is they said, look, we're not going to have an open cultural policy for you to come in here because it's through culture. I'm telling you guys.
I think we're getting there.
Culture. They have historically overthrown countries and people groups. Today we call it social engineering.
Yep.
The Chinese limited, they limited foreigners' access to certain parts of China. They limited foreigners' access to certain levels of economics. They limited.
However, they agreed when it was good for them. when it was good for them, they started to agree with globalization. All that we're talking about right now, Africa or countries in Africa trying to live for themselves, wouldn't be able to survive today because the West decided to open all the borders.
Bingo.
They did it on purpose.
Bingo.
They did it on purpose.
That is why.
Globalization is the one thing that is now our issue.
Yes, and that is why I said
we cannot grow. We cannot outgrow that system that they put in place.
I agree, but this is why I said when we talk about Africa, we cannot divest it from a parasite-host relationship.
Okay.
I said that.
Miss John.
Yeah.
No, I was in and out of the conversation because I was trying to text with Dennis and trying to get into the conversation. So I'm out.
Miss John.
I'm here. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me add two things to what you said about having the all the culture or all the group of people coming into a culture, and sometimes it takes over. I've noticed that I've noticed two things about the African that over the years that I've noted. In all of the 54 countries that they have in Africa, South Africa has the most.
We can add Haiti as a 55th country, by the way. We can add Haiti as a 55th country, which would actually be the first country in Africa.
But every country in Africa has at least 1.5 million of foreigner, and they're white. 1.5 million white Caucasian Indians in every single country in Africa, with South Africa with 4 million. Okay, that's number one I've noticed. And number two, I've also noticed that I pay attention because what you said, Miss John, is very powerful. One thing that is really literally hurting Africa is the fact that we're too hospitality is beyond and above the reception that we give is too much. Have you noticed that every president, when they're meeting the Asian or the white president, other president, every black president that I've seen on television, whenever that they're meeting the Asian president or the the president of the West, they always have this huge smile, this huge welcoming.
Yeah.
That pisses me off. That get on my nerves. Because first of all, you would only see Donald Trump want to smile and be a stooge to Vladimir Putin, which Putin not even paying him no mind. Putin don't even care about it. Putin don't even want to smile with him. The only person that I've noticed that is Putin is smiling with is Chinese. That's the Chinese Xi Jinping. He's the only person that he's smiling with. But this African president, every time that they're around Macron, every time they're around the lady from Great Britain, the lady from Germany, all of them, they always have this big, like they meet a family member. No, me, when I'm around my black people, I'm gonna be smiling and all up in their face until they tell me to go sit down. But listen, even at work, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be funny. Even at work, I just go and do what I gotta do. I don't mess with these people. Because when you're trying to be all up in their face, listen, they always got something for you. And they feel like sometimes you are too much on them.
Diplomacy. They call it diplomacy.
No, that's not diplomacy. That is not diplomacy. That is not diplomacy. That is not diplomacy. The African government, their diplomacy is too ridiculous. They always be smiling, like hardcore laughing. Like I'm looking at Cyril Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa. He always got this big smile, big laugh.
That one is an idiot.
You're right, my sister. We are too friendly. We're too friendly with the enemy.
But
and let me tell you something. China would not be in Africa.
Ketley, listen. Hospitality is what I do for a living. So when you stress on hospitality and Africans, I feel like you're pushing me against the wall. And if you push me against the wall, I'm going to come back and retaliate. because that's what I
The
do.
hospitality that these people have in Africa for the white people, I'm sure. I'm sure if my sister and I we go right now to Africa, they're not gonna have it for us.
If I can interject,
I was just kidding. I was just kidding. It wasn't serious.
There's a difference between hospitality and cooning.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
That's the reason why.
Now
That's the reason why I was saying. I was just kidding.
Kagame doesn't smile like that.
Thank you.
No,
Oh, you so right. Yes, yes.
But,
Who you be nodding to me?
But
yes.
hey, listen. Okay, when we bring up people, right, we have to remember the history of those people. Today in the Congo.
Coons, straight up coons.
Now. Today in the Congo, right? There's a war in the eastern part of Congo. Now you have Rwanda that is 12 million people that represent Kinshasa, the city, the main city, the number one city in Congo. That's the population of Rwanda. Today in the eastern part of Congo, we have a war because of Rwanda, because of Kagame. Today, there's a former military person that was indicted and put to jail for life by the CPI. I don't know what's the name of it in English. He was put in jail for life for crime committed as a member of the military in Rwanda, in the Congo. Kagame, he is to be followed for crimes committed in the eastern parts of Congo.
That brother.
As well. No, that's the truth. That's the truth, brother. That's another show. That's another show.
That's another show.
That's another show. That's another show. But I just want to make sure.
One thing I have to say,
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the man. I'm not a fan of the man.
Let us. Let us respect Dynas's platform. Okay.
I agree.
And let's stick to the topic. Right?
Okay. I mean, like I said,
but when we brought his name, I had to make sure that I'm not going to stand here and just stick it and say amen, because we all talking about Africans being out here saying amen to everything. So I felt like I needed to make sure that, eventually, or obviously, there are some Africans that are not here just to say amen to everything.
No. What we're discussing here is we know let me give you an example. Okay. Africa and Black countries, Jamaica, Trinidad, Haiti, Guyana, Grenada, Barbados, and the African continent. It's projected that we're the most violent people on the planet. But when you look at, there is an actual website that tracks mass shootings in the United States. Okay. Annually, mass shooting, not shooting one person, talking about shooting and wounding and killing, more than one person. Sorry about that. It's in the thousands annually. I'm sorry, hundreds annually. Okay? Every country has its problem. And the problem with us is that we tend to focus solely on the problem because we have a serious love relationship with trauma. Let me repeat myself. Whether the trauma is inflicted on us or whether we inflict it on each other because of self-hate, okay, we have a serious love affair with trauma. Okay? Mm-hmm. So every country has its issue. What we're here today to look at is what can we do to solve some of those problems.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, but that's right? Exactly the reason why I came on board. The reason why I came on board was
so
not
let's
to
look at
not to vent.
If you're going, no, I get it. But if you're going to talk about problems, if you're going to talk about any challenge on the African continent, you have to give us solutions. So no talking about problems without giving us solutions.
My statement was not a matter of presenting problems. My statement was a matter of presenting facts. Now, I can agree with you that to each place there is an issue and there is a solution and there are proposals to fix issues, right? However, when I'm being spoken about and I'm being told about a gentleman called Kagame and say, Kagame never smiles to white people, I say, I'm sorry, Dennis, it's your channel, but I have to say, bullshit.
Well, okay, but that's another.
But that's
I
another
think
topic, and that's the reason why I went on and vented about the situation with the Congo, because at that point it became very personal to me. I needed to make sure that I, you know, spoke my mind on the matter. However, it doesn't take away from my overall view of the issues that we're facing. Now, when I say that Africa has issues, I've lived in Africa for half of my life, and the other half I've lived in the States. Now, I want to go back to Africa, but I want to go back with solutions. I'm
Yeah.
not here to complain.
Yeah.
I'm here to offer solutions. And the reason why I want to put my voice to these conversations is because I just want to make sure that we don't just have the voice of uh, the African that never been to Africa, or the African that doesn't have really roots in Africa, and we actually kind of thinking about Africa as a dream rather than a reality. I want to make sure that our voice is also heard in those conversations. And with that passion, I'm ready to blame Africans and African leaders as much as I can. But I cannot sit here and just look at only the leaders. I have to look at the people.
We all have to make an effort. Right.
When I speak of Africans, I look at it and I'm like, ignorance. That's the main thing that I'm blaming. And when I blame the leaders, I don't just blame them for just being leaders. I blame them for being ignorant leaders. They will tell you that you have gasoline under your feet, but they won't tell you that you can actually create gas to feed cars with that, because you don't have the technology to do that. So now you have the ExxonMobil that go to Africa and they open all these gas stations, and we wonder, where's all that coming from? How is it that they bring in that new material, and all the cars that we're driving are cars that they built to use our material, from the tires to the dashboard to the cars, the car seats, to everything in the car is coming from Africa. But we didn't know we could do that. I blame ignorance. That's all I was trying to say. I'm sorry if I was extending my time.
No problem. I was gonna say, Rainetta, now that I have to get my son. I'm getting confirmation if I have to get my son or not.
Okay,
But
Dennis, we can go.
keep
We can go.
saying
It's okay.
that,
It's okay.
well, I don't know, because I don't want to go to my mother, my child already got him. Like, oh, he's gone already. His mom got him. So I'm just waiting to get confirmation. But now people are saying that you invented the iPod.
I did. And
Okay,
the Kindle.
okay, that probably needs to be a whole nother show. But can you kind of?
Yeah, I was listening to your show about that, Miss John. That was very interesting.
I just,
I
you know,
knew.
hold on.
I'm
Okay, go
laughing
ahead.
because
Go ahead.
I
Let me make a phone call real quick. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm laughing because I knew someone would bring this up. Yes, I did. Anyone can go online, type in my name, and type in interview, and I gave the whole breakdown of how it was stolen, who I went to, who I presented it to. The person was is very high up in the music industry, way more influential and powerful than I realized. Um, very rich, very influential with media in New York, and it was stolen. It was originally invented for Sony, okay? It was stolen. I didn't know the person had connections with Steve Jobs from Apple. They struck a backdoor deal, flew me out of the country, launched it in the United States, and that's how you have the history of it coming to the market.
Wow.
But anyone could go in, anyone, and I told Apple, I told them, I said, they can sue me all they want, and they have never sued me. So I told them they can, they never did, and they never will. And anyone can go, if you do the homework, you will know Apple does not own the patent to the iPod. Let me make that clear. Apple does not own the patent to the iPod, okay? Because they did not invent it. Okay, let me make that clear. But you can type in my name, go type in my name and the word interviews, and you can listen to the full detailed interviews.
I
I
did.
provide you with my passport, the actual day that there was a secret launch in Cupertino, California, where before the mass launch of the iPod.
You
I did. I
solid,
listened to
sister.
that
You
interview.
solid. You solid, sister. You solid.
She is. She is. She is. I'm proud of you.
Me too.
I feel somebody dropped.
Somebody
I did.
dropped.
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
the call dropped. Yeah. So anyone, okay, so there was a private launch, okay? When the iPod first launched, it wasn't a big nationwide launch. It was a small launch in Cupertino, California, okay? And Steve Jobs invited a very select group of people, one of which was the very guy I went to and I presented the iPod and the Kindle to, okay? This was a group of, I think, like less than 100 people, okay, before the nationwide launch. He presented it to them. But at the same time, while they presented it to them, they had a Russian operative fly me to London. The very day it was launched, that week I was in London. So I had no clue that it was being launched in Cupertino, California, because I was out of the country. Okay. So
Until
you
you
can
was.
go, yeah, you can go. I don't even like talking about it because it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
But
I've seen the
I'm sorry. I'm
interview,
sorry.
and it's
Everybody keeps bringing it up, so I need to,
no, that's okay. But let's fast forward to today.
Okay, go
Okay.
ahead. Fast
Let's
forward to
fast
that. Go
forward to
ahead.
today.
Go
I
ahead.
can
Go
tell
ahead.
you guys some other inventions that I came up with. Okay.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. Go. Let's.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
that's fine. So for example, um, I came up with what you call a cellular band-aid, but I'm not going to bring it to
Hello.
market because I'm not going to bring that to market. But I'll tell you what it's about. Basically, if you know, the cells in the body communicate, okay?
Okay.
They communicate via a chemical language. It's called cellular linguistics, okay? But they communicate via chemistry. So what I did is I designed this prototype, a prototype cell. And in the cell communicates, a fake cell, it's a fake body cell. And what it does is if you place this on your body, anywhere where the person is having pain or problem, the fake cell communicates with the actual cells in your body and it performs cellular reconnaissance, meaning because cells communicate, you know, when you have a disease, you know, with your white blood cells that devise the defensive strategy to alleviate the body of whatever the ailment is, right? Now, all of that information is stored in the inside of the cell. So what I did is I devised a fake cell, and the fake cell communicates with your living cell on a reconnaissance mission. And it sends out queries to the living cell to get back information. The information is then relayed back to the fake cell. The doctor then takes the fake cell, hooks it up to an EEG, and then converts what the biological cell told the fake cell is going on in the body. And that cell can then allow the doctor to know what the problem is non-invasively. Non-invasively. Okay?
So
So
you
that,
basically created another type of CT scan.
yeah, basically. Basically. The other thing
wow.
the other thing that I also came up with, I hate talking about myself. Okay.
Now,
I
pass
hate
it
this.
on the back.
But anyway, I'll just give you guys one more. Okay. The other thing that I came up with was a new type of internet. Okay, there's God, there's two Wi-Fi systems that I created and another internet system that I created. Okay, um, yeah, but but today, what did I invent today? Well, I looked at, and this is what I was alluding to. I looked at um, the rural areas of Africa, and I said to
Mm-hmm.
myself, when I was looking at the rural areas of Africa, I said to myself, I said, look, the vast majority of people on the African continent live in the rural areas. But because of the history of slavery and colonization, the African governments today have the same policy towards the rural areas as they do, as the colonizers did, which is under development with the exception of resource extraction. Okay? So when I looked at the rural areas, the bulk of the people who live in Africa live in the rural areas, but they lack critical
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure in two areas. So what I did is I didn't invent it, I reinvented it, a form of transportation for the rural areas. And then I'm looking into how can we get proper roads in the rural areas so that we can facilitate economic and industry within the rural areas to stymie large populations of unemployed young Black men and women from flooding the cities. That's what I'm focused on
Yeah.
today.
Wow. Mm.
Okay. And
That's
I hate
large.
talking about
That,
myself.
that 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 that's large as a program, because we need to think about education as well when it comes down to that particular conversation. Um, it's deep. This is deep because we need to we're looking at education, but not a general education. We need to focus on certain type uh, of schooling, of teaching, of programs that will actually just focus on certain things rather than generalizing the same way education is done all around the world. Like you'll be learning English, French, Spanish, mathematics, science, and then eventually you end up not liking certain things and you focus on one thing. But what you're proposing right now is actually just focusing on one and one particular thing, which to me is dope. But it's gonna bring up a whole lot of conversation
Renetta,
around
Renetta,
education.
you know who you remind me of? I had the lady who wrote The Matrix on here on the show a couple times about a couple years
The
ago.
lady that wrote the
Sophia
Matrix.
Stewart, yeah.
Sophia
Sophia
Stewart.
Stewart.
Yeah, I had her
Yeah.
on a couple times.
Yep. Yeah, Sophia Stewart. I know all too well about how they operate. I
Yeah.
know all. Oh, and I also another modern thing that I came up with, which I think in terms of entertainment, because I still believe we can use entertainment as an avenue to fund other projects, is the history of Carnival and how Black people merged the African masquerade with the European carnival to make the carnival all across the world a multi-billion-dollar industry to the
Oh
Industry.
yeah.
tune of
Mhm.
167 billion US dollars.
Mhm.
Okay,
I
that is what
agree.
carnival is worth today because of
Wow.
Black people. Okay, because of
When you
Black
look at
people,
it, when
carnival
you look
today,
at it
yes.
in what's the city, New Orleans, it's a whole
Oh my God,
business.
it's big there.
Carnival in Brazil brings in
Yeah,
$3.2
it's
billion
big.
dollars every year. Carnival in
Yes.
Trinidad brings in
Yes.
200 million every year.
That's the
Carnival in
reason why.
Caribana brings
That,
in $400 million dollars every year. The
that's the
Labor
reason
Day
why they won't
Carnival.
stop. That's the reason why they won't stop Juve and any of the carnivals out here in New York.
Absolutely. But the problem is for some reason, the one in Brooklyn, um, I don't know if it's by design, if they're literally trying to stop it, so or move it indoors. So why all of a sudden it's violent? But the carnival in Trinidad is not violent. The carnival
Mm.
in Brazil, it's not violent. I've been there. The carnival in it's not violent. But let me give you some. Let me why I'm stressing that entertainment is still a viable avenue, but just not in the United States. I created a carnival for Black Americans. Okay, I did this. However, this was prior. I've been working on it for 3 years. This was prior, and I am not downing the ADOS movement. I had to scale back because some, not all ADOS, so don't attack me. Some in the ADOS movement did not particularly like Black immigrants. And I said to myself, I said, okay, I spent 3 years designing this to honor Black Americans in terms of their art and their culture in a carnival. I said, but there's a rising tide of Black Americans who may not like Black immigrants. So I had to pull back and then redesign it. And then I redesigned it for the African continent. Okay.
That was gonna be my question, because don't they like Black immigrants, or don't they like immigrants from Africa? Because I'm pretty sure that those ADOS that you
No,
are talking about were
it's a
pretty
few.
comfortable with the people from the islands.
No, look, I'm not ADOS and I'm not going to speak on ADOS issues. ADOS deserve reparations. Case closed.
Yeah, but the thing is, ADOS, we pretty much celebrate all y'all's carnival.
Oh, you're ADOS too now?
That's why I was shocked. But I couldn't go, Dinah, I
ADOS
couldn't go into it. I couldn't do it.
ADOS in regards to descendant of African slaves, and what I'm saying is,
Slave leaves. Okay.
ADOS we will celebrate your guys' carnival before we've even had our own.
Listen, I designed this carnival for Black Americans. I worked on this thing for 3 years for Black Americans. Why did I do this? Because I wanted them to have an avenue through the art where they can speak about their great history. But when I was about to launch it, there was a rise, okay, not all ADOS, but there was a rise in anti-Black immigrants coming from ADOS. So I had to pull back because I didn't want some to say, she's a Black immigrant. What the hell is she doing creating stuff for us? So I had to look out for my own self. So what I did is I went to people who accepted me. So I redesigned it for the African continent because the African continent have not maximized their carnival potential. And I'm giving you guys numbers now. Carnival in Brooklyn is $265 million every year. Carnival in Toronto is $400 million every year. Carnival in the UK is $365 million every year. Carnival in Brazil is $3.2 billion every year. And I created this because I said Black Americans are masters at creating music, dance, culture, and the arts. This would be a great way for them to show the world their true culture. However, because of the rise of the anti-Black immigrants, I couldn't do it. So what I did is I looked at the African continent and I said, look, they have carnivals in Cabo Verde, they have carnivals in Calabar, they have carnival in South Africa, but they have never capitalized on their carnival economy. So I redesigned it for the African continent. And I'm sorry, but Black Americans missed out. I don't think they'd really care about the loss anyway.
You know, I really need to research ADOS because I thought ADOS, I thought the main point was about that we immigrant and African reparation, we should be dealing with our reparation with our oppressor, and they should concentrate on their reparation with America, which is, I'm fine. I am 100% behind that. You see what I'm saying? I don't mind as a Haitian person to don't get part of that reparation if it's only supposed to be for them. I am 100% behind it, and I really believe that we should have a Black nation within the nation. But I did not know that ADOS literally don't like African and the Caribbean.
Not all. Not all.
And I don't even think that it's a matter of liking or disliking. What I think it's a matter of is themselves not seeing themselves as Africans. That's really what I got.
What is it?
from look, it's themselves not seeing themselves as Africans. They do
And that
not
is
see
fine if
themselves.
they don't. But me, this is me. That's how I see. Let me,
That's what I think. That's what I think the whole movement was about. I don't think that the movement was about not liking
oh,
Africans and or whatever. I think that the movement is more about how they see themselves. So now you have the duality of African Americans that say we agree with the statement that we are sons of slaves, and the ADOS movement guys are saying no, we are from here, and the Nile is in what was the city, Dennis?
What city
The
win?
the Nile
Oh,
River.
okay, no. Those are the Hebrew Israelites. They're separate. I mean, that's a whole nother just.
okay. Because me, because
I'm just saying.
because
I'm just
as
saying.
far as me, to be honest with you, I am very. I mean, this is me. Anything that is positive for the black movement, I don't have to have part of it. I don't have to have some kind of gain from it. If they need my support, anything that is positive that is supposed to be given away to any black people, I will hooray with them. The ADOS, from what I've read so far, not too much in depth, but from what I've read so far is that they want reparation,
This
and
is
they
the
feel
thing.
like, huh?
This is the thing. One thing I want to say about the carnival. The issue that I'm having now, because when I originally designed it, I said, unless I get some big black celebrity with a lot of money to fund it,
Mm.
it's not going to get up off the ground, okay? Because it's a carnival, the scale and the size of Brazil, okay? Which I know Black Americans can do. The
Yeah.
issue now that I'm having, because I had to pull back, because I know there would have been ADOS people that said, why is the Black immigrant doing this and not an ADOS? You see what I'm saying? I had to.
Did
Her
we
phone
lose her?
dropped again.
Okay, she'll hop back on. But everyone, please hit that like button. Thank you for joining. We got about we could roll for another 20 more minutes, and I have to go get my son. I'm gonna pick him up to 4:45. So
You got notice?
yeah, I gotta go get him at 4:40. I gotta pick him at 4:45. His school's like, where his camp is like 10 minutes away, so it's not that far.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, I am with ADOS. I want them to get reparation. I really do. I really do. I really do. I think if
That,
they have, we have. That's how I feel about it.
but that's the thing though. Um, I don't know that when they do get the so-called reparation, they will invest in anything Africa.
I am.
They don't
I
have
am.
to.
No,
They
I
don't
am.
I
have
know.
to.
No, I
They
know
don't
you
have
are,
to.
Dennis. Dennis, I know you are. But if we listen to,
They don't have to. Even
if
if
we
there's
listen,
relief, even if there's a relief in America itself, it's
Nah,
enough.
it ain't. No, it's not.
mm,
Nothing's gonna change. They'll just get a check, and they'll be
because
getting their
Can
ass.
I?
listen, let me put it this way. You remember in 2007, 2006 or 2005, the government was going under, and George Bush, the son,
Giving
decided
that
to
six hundred
send
dollars away.
Yeah,
exactly. Where did that money go?
back to
Yeah,
the
he made us pay it right back. He made us pay
Exactly.
it right back.
Exactly. So I do not believe that they're gonna buy houses.
No,
They're
that
gonna
is
buy cars. They are gonna try to blow out over here, trying to show out and show off. Just the same way every rich black man in this part of the land actually behaves. And more power to them if they decide to do that. But my point of it is this: is that uh, reparation is something that cannot be estimated. It's 400 years. I don't know how much money can be given to forgive the rape of my
yeah. It's not.
grandmother.
It's not even. It's not even about money. Money included
But
too.
but
But
that
they need to do it
but that
systematically. Then it needs to
but that's
start in the
what but that's
system.
what but
The
but,
system
but
needs
that's
to be
what the Jews
Guys,
decolonized.
can I
but that's
interject?
what the Jews and the Japanese and the Chinese got. They got money. Okay, and the difference became in how they use their money. I was talking to Dennis in another show And I was telling him how, you know, culturally, these people act as if though they are with us, but they're not. I'm talking about Asians. They
They're
still
not with
have
us.
they still have the Chinese names, they still have the Japanese names, and they still speak their languages, which is
And they
something
stay
that
within them. They stay
exactly,
amongst them.
exactly, and that's something that we do not have. Black Americans don't have that. I'm a Congolese. I know where I'm from, but I can meet my long lost cousin on the street and I don't even know it is because they took it away from us. So how our history can never be mixed up and mixed and shared the same way, or um, we can never look at our history the same way. That would be a mistake. We can never do that. Uh, Getting reimbursed is as if though you were to put a price on
It's more
the
than
rape,
reimbursed.
Guys, can I
the
say
rape,
something? Can
the
I say
rape of your
something? Guys,
grandmother.
guys,
Like,
guys, can I say
no.
something? Can I say something? The ADOS
Mm.
reparations issue and the Caribbean reparations issue and the Latin reparations issue, it's how they deem fit. No one else should interject on what they do. It's our Black ancestors who were sold to the Americas, in the Americas, and that is it. Let ADOS determine what they want. None of us are ADOS, so none of us should be telling them or even interjecting in that conversation. The issue for me is this, for me on my part, with the carnival, and I don't mean to cut anyone off, the issue for me is now that I have non-Black people interested in the carnival, whereas I designed it for Black Americans, I know that if I move and someone who's white or Asian purchases the carnival, says they want to do it, what do you think is gonna happen?
It will be
What do you think is gonna happen?
whitewash,
Bingo.
Asian wash.
I'm
You
gonna tell
know,
you, I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna get whitewashed, and black people are gonna complain and be mad. Renee,
Thank
Hmm.
you
you.
Renee, you
and then
sold out,
calling
Renee.
me
You
a
I can't
sold
believe
coon,
you
out.
sold out,
You
Renee.
sold out.
You sold
and then
out.
they will call me a coon and a sellout. Don't forget that. They will call me a coon and a sellout. Go ahead.
No, I agree. I agree totally, because anything that comes from us usually is not good. But as soon as you put your white friend on it, all of a sudden, oh, it's a good project. It's even. I mean, I'm gonna bring it down to the residue of it. If you own a business and you are African and it's a good product, but because your name does not sound like Fitzgerald and you don't have the accent, you can go fetch. You can go fetch. You're not gonna get the product sold, even if it's a good product. But as soon as the white man puts the stamp on it, the stamp of approval, everybody and their mama thinks it's a good product. And guess what? They won't even realize and won't even pay attention to the fact that the actual owner of the project is black or is
Dinah
African.
spoke about this. Dinah spoke
Yeah,
about
Yeah,
this earlier.
he did. He did.
So
your white validation.
you need the white validation. It's
All right.
messed up. It's messed up. But that's the system. Um, that's the reason why I do believe that circles such as this one actually allows us to bring our different backgrounds and knowledge together to speak on things, not just by passion, but to speak the truth. And if you're not real when you come in these shows, and if you can defend your positions, then you are not to be on those platforms. Uh, so, Dennis, thank you again for having me today.
No
I know
problem.
you got to go. Uh, Today was an exception for me, as I told Dennis. I usually don't ask to jump on the show, but I needed to jump on this show because Sister Jones was dropping some stuff,
Oh
and I
my
needed to
God,
be
yes,
able
she
to explain.
was.
Yes, but I needed to come and say some stuff as uh, the original Kunta Kinte come and say something as the original Kunta Kinte
There's some
and say,
Ketley, I think there's some background noise on your end. Ketley.
No, not me.
Okay, okay. All right, go ahead, Jean Claude.
so I just felt like, you know, we we need to have all opinions. And what I'm happy about is that you don't get just, you get the random guy, but you also get people that actually have some sense to them, and that I'm happy about. So that's the reason why I'm always trying to listen as much as I can. And every time that you come on, I try to be there and listen. And if I feel like I need to intervene, then I do intervene. And today was one of those days. Mr. Jones, she dropped some jewels, and I said, "Yo, I need to speak to Miss Jones because she thinks that she knows all about Africa, but she's got her stuff together, and I have my realities, but the two don't mean that they can coexist, and that's the good thing about this show. So thank you again for having me.
No problem, no problem.
I'm
And
sorry,
And
guys.
Mr.
I'm outside. It's 95 degrees in New Jersey right now. I'm
Wow.
sweating bullets.
Wow.
I decided to be outside because if I were to be in my house, Dennis knows the show in my house. I
yeah,
have
yeah,
four
yeah, yeah.
kids.
All the
I have
kids,
four kids. Nobody wants to deal with them.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
Miss Jones, it was nice meeting you. Uh, Kate Lichal, merci
Oui.
beaucoup. À
De
bientôt.
rien.
À
Ça va.
bientôt. Ça va
À
aller.
bientôt. On parle encore.
À plus tard. Ça
À
À
passé.
plus tard.
bientôt.
D'accord. Naboulé.
Petit,
Sac
petit.
passé.
Petit, petit.
Petit,
Okay,
petit.
d'accord.
All
Yeah,
right.
well, it was a pleasure. I had to jump in and talk with Miss Johns because Miss Johns, oh my God, Miss Johns, I don't know what to say. You make me feel like Miss John, you make me feel like this. It's like you make me feel like you left me with a stepmother. Now you back and you want to go back, and I don't want to let you go. I don't know if you're feeling what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? It's
Yes,
like
I
you
do.
are so you and Abefe. I don't know, Abefe. You're gonna have to create honey. You're gonna have to create a board because people are want that. People want it. I know you're busy. I know you're super busy, but you're gonna have to create Miss John is one of those strong um should be part of your board when you have those live because you're gonna have to have it at least once every 3 months.
Okay.
Give people ahead of time, find a place or school or auditorium or something where all you gotta call it is a meet and greet productive conversation or things that we need to talk about that we must not die on. You know how you gonna do it. You got brain. I don't want my brain sometimes cannot add up. My brain sometimes I'm telling you. But anyway, you know what I mean because you're
Okay.
passionate about it. You see what I'm saying? You dedicate. You've done way before you met me and probably Miss John. You had a whole lot going on. You were doing this pretty much on your own. So you know already how you feel and how you're passionate about it. But
Mhm.
what we're just telling you is that you should create a board meeting and have your strong people there and invite teenagers 15 because them teenagers they're doing a lot of crazy stuff out there. We need to get their mind we need to give them that vibe, that life of that activism, so we can get them off drugs, get them off something, and tell them how can they help, or you know what I'm saying, be
Right.
a little pan-africanism, something like that. I don't know, but anyway, you know what I mean. But I
You
really
got it.
appreciate you guys. I love you guys so much. Yes, I really appreciate you guys a lot. You guys are doing great, great, great stuff.
Thank you,
And I'm
sister.
right behind you. I'm right behind you. However I can, whatever I can, whatever, I'm right behind you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. And
You're
Miss Jones,
welcome.
anything you oh,
Is that me?
yeah, Miss Jones, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Sister Katie. Again, Dinus, thank you. My objectives are very clear. It's very clear. Everything that I do for the African continent, what I would love to do besides live there on the African continent is geared towards one thing. How can I get people in the rural areas to have thriving economies through micro businesses? That's it. The second thing is, again, I redesigned the carnival for the African continent. If anyone has any connections to any carnival government, because Africa has a lot of tourism, and they would like to really capitalize on this industry, reach out to me. That's basically it. I hope that I educated you guys on something. I hope that I woke you guys up, stimulated you guys, gave you guys food for thought. And Dinah, thank you very much for having me on your platform. And please keep on doing the great work that you're doing.
Oh, I
Yes.
am. I am. It won't stop. And then, Ms. Jones, how can people reach you? How can people contact you and shout out your website? And
Oh, sure. Okay, so my micro business is the African tradition of herbal bath, and it is blacksunrise.com, spelled with an O, black, SONRISE.com. I created the formula, and I sell African herbal detox baths. If you want to reach out to me via website. I also have a YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, Dinah, you have to visit this. Boy, do I have some stuff to show you, but I know you're busy.
no,
Can I say one last thing? Dinah,
come
can I
on.
say one last thing?
Go ahead.
Okay. So we do this thing called Mountain Mystery, where we go all over the African continent and Haiti and the Caribbean, and we discover in Nigeria, in northern Nigeria, sphinxes littered all over Nigeria. Okay? I kid you not.
You said what?
Sphinx, like in what's in Egypt. Sphinx.
Really?
Wow, space.
Yep.
Wow.
It's called, the last one we did was Nigerian Mountain Mysteries. And in northern Nigeria, there is a mountain. It's about a mile long with a giant sphinx of a Bantu head and body.
Okay, where? Because I'll go find it. You just tell me.
You gotta fly over it.
Go.
You can't see it from the ground. You can't see it from the ground. You have to fly over it because it's a mountain.
Oh, okay. I understand, but I mean, where's the mountain?
Okay, I'll send. Okay.
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah.
I will go.
It's a giant sphinx. There's another one in Central African Republic and a couple of them in Southern Sudan. Okay, so we found these giant sphinxes all over the African continent and potentially some pyramids as well. So we call that Mountain Mystery. So my YouTube channel, we go out there. We talk about everything. Okay, so those of you who are conservative, it may not be for you because we literally talk about what's real, mythological, what's unreal, everything. And we have a good time. So that's my YouTube channel. Okay, so if anyone wants to meet me, email me, gijane0001@gmail.com. Dinah, again, thank you for having me on your show.
All right, no problem. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go to search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Like, share, and subscribe. If you're new to the platform, please subscribe, like, search for Uhuru on all platforms of social media. Till next time, family, Dynasty Samir, search for Uhuru. Peace.
All right. No problem.